Hi, and welcome back to Let's Talk Escape Reality Star Wars Talk.
There you go.
This is season 2 of episode 4.
Episode 14 and 2, yep.
Yep, I'm Seth Brantley. This is
And
Caleb Lockwood.
Yeah.
And
we had some technical difficulty, so he had to start us off this
Yep.
week. So we got some Star Wars news. Not a lot like it's been, as it's been since we started this season.
it has been
Pretty dead Star Wars news wise.
pretty dry.
Ooh, I do want to talk about something that I did not put in our schedule.
Mm.
Because I saw this on TikTok yesterday.
Oh.
So, Ming-Na Wen, the actress who is playing the assassin in Boba Fett,
Mm-hmm.
better known as Mulan.
Yeah, that's who I thought it was.
Yep. So she put out a tweet
Mm-hmm.
that was a congratulations to Katie Sackhoff, who is the actress who plays Bo-Katan.
Okay.
So, both the live action and voice of Bo-Katan. So, both in Clone Wars and in The Mandalorian.
Oh, all right.
No context, really, other than there was an article, I think, that she got a show, but it was, rumored. And Ming-Na said, congrats.
Just
that
one
that
word.
tweet that tweet is gone now.
Oh.
So, a lot of people are thinking, is there some legitimacy to this? Which I would be thinking that too. And I am thinking that. Why? And also, Ming-Na, I love you, but why? Why would you do that? Disney will not. Disney will not put up with that at all.
They'll go into the actor pit, man.
The mouse will hunt you down and make sure that tweet and your any post you've ever made are gone from the internet.
Yep. We'll put you in there with the
You'll go there with Tom Holland.
Yep. You'll go there with Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yeah. You and Spider-Man sitting in the no spoiler jail.
Yep. The actor pit is the greatest thing we've ever come up with.
Would you be interested in a Bo-Katan led show?
I don't know a lot about them.
But
I know enough to know that they're important.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I'm like,
the osmosis,
this is an important name,
the osmosis has
but I don't know.
Yeah.
She has something.
Phantom osmosis has connected to you where you have some of the basic knowledge, but you don't know. So she's the one.
Something to do with the Mandalorian.
Yes,
she's one of their former big leader people.
Yeah, she is the.
I don't remember anything.
So she's the sister of Duchess Satine.
Oh.
The one who was, and she's the one who was working with the Death Watch initially. In the Clone Wars, remember she was working for Death Watch.
That didn't work out
obviously, she switched sides once Darth Maul took over Death Watch, because she was like, gone too far. Also, you killed my sister.
Yeah, that'd do it.
Spoilers for Clone Wars.
Yep.
Although today's going to be a spoiler episode, filled episode, anyways.
So here's your warning.
Yeah, here's your warning for the spoilers for the book we read.
Sorry,
although I put it in the description though, so you've got plenty of warning. I gave warning to the people on Discord that I invited to watch. Everybody has warning that we're deep diving into that.
Yep. Sorry, I didn't mean to say here's your.
Yeah, no.
Particular
no,
tone.
You're great. Also, because of the people I'm friends with on TikTok, and my mutuals, essentially, they are excited not for the reasons that I am, which is I'm excited to see Bo-Katan in a lead role. I'm excited to see her kind of take on I'm curious what that means for where we left off with Mando season 2, because
I don't have the
you don't
context.
have the context. Basically, so the Darksaber.
Okay.
She had the Darksaber until the Empire took it, meaning she was the rightful leader.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Moff Gideon took it because he wanted it to, morale. Morale was destroyed.
All right.
Because no leader, no morale. So Moff Gideon tricked Din into fighting him and losing on I believe on purpose. Gideon lost on purpose. And Din now has the Darksaber, meaning he's the new leader, and the only way Bo-Katan can take it is through combat.
Oh no.
I'm curious what that means if she's getting a show. If that means either Din somehow gets the Darksaber to her, whether through like a similar fight where maybe Din throws, or we get a whole nother adventure. Like maybe a prequel adventure of like Bo-Katan would be nice, like something before the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
See her as a leader before the fall of the Mandalorians. So that'd be my interest. What my mutuals on TikTok are more interested in is their conspiracy theory that so remember the nephew of Satine in Clone Wars?
Yes.
There's a theory that he is actually Satine and Obi-Wan's love child. Because Obi-Wan and Satine, were a thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the kid is not Bo-Katan's and it's not Satine's. So how is he who did they have a brother or a sister, or are they claiming that Satine is his aunt because can't tell him that it's your son?
It just
and then my mutuals on TikTok are also like have like evidence to a degree, and like they're like, oh, his hair is very similar to Obi-Wan's. It's closer to Obi-Wan's than Satine's. Definitely closer than it is to Bo-Katan's. So yeah. So they want Corky. That's his name. They want Corky, and they want confirmation of the Corky Kenobi theory. Which I'm obviously making fun of them, but I love you guys. Just
I'm searching my memory from like bits and pieces of clone.
He's the one that is in that classroom. That he's the one that immediately takes charge during the corruption episode.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the like dirty blonde hair. Yeah. And so him. And so yeah. So that's the last minute section of news that I wanted to talk about. Well, let's get into what I actually had scheduled. So we got an update from last week's news segment. So it's still in the rumor mill. But Bespin Bulletin, who reported last time on this, is now continuing with their rumors in that they claimed with Jedi Fallen Order 2 that it was going to appear before E3, that we'd get some sort of visual confirmation before E3, like something official, either like a logo or some gameplay or like a trailer, something along those lines. So now they are saying that we are going to get it at Star Wars Celebration in May. And they're claiming that it won't be called Fallen Order 2. It will be Jedi with a new subtitle.
Oh boy.
So Jedi subtitle.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. That's kind of where I thought the franchise would go anyways. It kind of reminds me of the old Jedi Knight franchise, like we talked about last week. So this matches with our rumor from last week. Which makes sense anyways. Well, one, EA doesn't go to E3 anyways. They have their own event called EA Play, and it's usually around that same weekend. And so they'll probably show us footage of Jedi by then.
Yeah.
But I figure we're going to get the Jedi sequel before that anyways, because Star Wars Celebration makes sense to show it at. Star Wars Celebration is basically their Comic-Con. It's where you're going to get your big Star Wars news. So it would be kind of a waste to save it for another month. At least another month, because June, July is usually around June is when E3 weekend usually is. So, like, that'd be a whole nother month of just sitting on it.
We have this thing, but we're going to wait till, like, all the hype dies down.
Yeah. And so they would show us and I don't think the hype for a Jedi sequel is ever dying down, because, like, people, we talked about how this month you can get it for free right now.
Yeah.
Through Amazon, so like, yeah, I don't think the hype's dying down, and I think in fact it's ramping up, kind of like in that similar what we had with Battlefront 2 a while back, where everybody was able to get it for free through the Epic Store, and that kind of revitalized Battlefront 2 as a game. Like it repopulated the online.
After they're like
Yeah.
big.
Yeah, like it like by then a lot of people had like your hardcore players that like Battlefront 2 stuck around, but then you had a bit of a repopulation, which is good for a game like that where it's online. Like for the most part, there's a campaign, but similar to any other shooter, the online is what matters. You want your population, you want to have matches able to be played, and you can't just fill it with bots because nobody wants to just play against bots. At least on an online service. I personally don't care because I suck at shooters, as the internet can attest because they've seen me play Battlefront a lot. So yeah. So yeah, I'm interested. It makes sense to me to go down this line. Along these same rumors, we're talking about a game that might not come out this year because of the Rona.
Yeah. The plague,
the virus,
you know.
the
You've
Novid.
heard it before.
The Novid. Yeah.
Get your shots.
Yeah, and it makes sense that it, and so a lot of people are thinking it'll be next year now. Like initially, people were thinking this year. Now they're thinking it'll probably be next year, and that makes sense on a timeline. Either way, so show the trailer this year,
and then
get us ramped, and then next year you'll show us a little bit more closer to release. I personally like trailers that are pretty close to the release. I don't want like a trailer for something that's coming out in 3 years.
Oh,
which is my problem with the gaming industry right now, is that that's my biggest issue with like advertising, anyways, marketing side of the gaming industry.
I can see
why are you showing me something that's not coming out for 3 to 5 years?
And of course, in 3 to 5 years, they may have scrapped it by then.
They may have either scrapped it or the game looks nothing like what they showed us.
So, speaking of games...
Yeah, speaking of games and speaking of trailers, we got a post-launch trailer for the Apple Arcade exclusive LEGO Star Wars Castaways. So, you have to have an Apple product, and you have to pay the subscription for Apple Arcade.
Yep.
2 barriers that I am not jumping through, even though I like the look of the game.
Yep.
Like, it very much fits that itch that I have for a LEGO Star Wars game right now, especially since the Skywalker Saga LEGO Star Wars game got pushed, because it was supposed to already be out. And that was supposed to be, 1 through 9, the entire saga as a LEGO Star Wars game. That got pushed. So instead, we've been getting these Apple Arcade exclusive LEGO games, and I'm...
You don't like that.
I want to play them, but I don't want to pay for an Apple product and for the subscription.
I think it would be fine if it was like one or the other.
Or like if I could pay Apple, I don't mind giving them $10 a month or whatever. Probably I don't know what the subscription fee is. It's probably not too much, and I wouldn't mind paying that a month. Heck, I'd just give them full price for the game because it's an MMO. No, that makes sense on the monthly subscription then. I pay a monthly subscription for the Old Republic. It kind of looks like a LEGO, not quite LEGO the Old Republic, but it fits that LEGO Star Wars charm where it's got missions, it looks like, and you can play them with your friends. And it kind of has everything that I want from a LEGO Star Wars game. Plus, I can play it with more than just one friend. It's that throwback. I mean, and we talked about, I think we talked last week about, where LEGO Star Wars holds a place for us. So, obviously it holds a very, no, it was when our audio was broken. So 2 weeks ago. So you guys missed our conversation on that. Yeah. But, LEGO Star Wars holds a very special place in my heart.
Me as well, but
not to the same degree as me.
That I am not as... I enjoy things, but I'm not as, fanatical.
I wouldn't say I'm fanatical either, but, it's a very nostalgic, very nostalgia. It brings back a lot of good memories for me.
Yeah.
And so, LEGO Star Wars holds that place, so seeing a game that's I can play with my friends, and we can do, these cool missions, and we get to build our own character, which is something LEGO Star Wars has slowly done more and more.
Yeah.
I think
that's
Lego Star Wars
basically
1
what
didn't.
most Lego games do now. You
Yeah,
build your character.
You can build your character using bits and pieces from other characters that you collected. And so, like, they started that, I think, in the Lego Star Wars games, I think they started that with 2, which was the original saga. Because 1, you couldn't do that. And I think 2, they added it, and then, like, the complete saga, they really revamped it to where, like, you could do a lot more. And then I haven't played Clone Wars yet, 1, so Lego Star Wars 3. And I haven't really played the Force Awakens 1 to completion. I played, like, a mission. I was having trouble playing it when I played it the first time because I didn't have as great of a computer at the time. So I would like to play this. I would like to do this for, like, just in general, add it to my YouTube content, especially since I'm going through Lego Star Wars games right now on the channel because, you know, we're ramping up for the complete saga coming out.
But
2 barriers are not great for me.
Nope, they're not.
I mean, and I feel like Apple would be smart enough to know that. I think they want you to buy their Apple products, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But to also then add the subscription on top, I think it's weird that Apple does that when they know they can probably still get your money even if you're not on an Apple product, because Apple TV.
Yeah.
The Apple TV you can watch without an Apple product. I could watch Apple TV on my PlayStation. That's about as far from an Apple product as it gets. It's not even a Microsoft product. It's a Sony.
Oh, boy.
So, you know, there's that.
All right.
So, yep, that's my thoughts on the game. And I guess you're kind of in a similar spot as me when it comes to that. Like, would you play it based on what you saw in the trailer? Or
yeah. But given
the similar circumstances,
yeah,
you don't even have like a regular PC. You got that that Chromebook.
Yeah,
so you can't even play.
A lot of people give me shit for the Chromebook, but it does all the stuff I need it to do.
Except play Baldur's Gate with me.
God, if I could figure out how to get Baldur's Gate working on that.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go into our final news piece.
Yep.
So, George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy are going to be honored with the 2022 PGA Milestone Award, so Producers Guild of America. They are presenting an award to them, which makes sense because Kathleen Kennedy and George Lucas have been in the industry very long time. A lot of people kind of forget how long Kathleen Kennedy's been in the industry when they talk about her. She's the current Lucasfilm exec. So she's the one that's kind of the executive producer for a lot of things going on right now. People kind of forget she's been around since, like, E.T. Like, she was a producer on E.T. She was a producer for all the Indiana Jones films.
That's a while.
Like, she's been working with Spielberg for about that long. Spielberg and Lucas she's been working with. Those have been her 2 main, like, you know, they took her under their wing. And it's why I think she's still good at her job. She makes mistakes. Yeah, don't get me wrong.
Everyone does.
Everyone does. I think Solo, there was some mistakes made. As far as the sequels, I think the mistakes only really hit around 9. Usually my problem with her is changing out directors at last minute. So, like, Solo, she did that, and 9, she basically did that. And I don't like how Josh Trank was treated, and basically being kicked out before he could even start his project because of stuff going on set with Fantastic Four, which, yes, he drank on set, and yes, he got a little rowdy. But I think there was also a hostile work environment that was towards him that led him to that. And I don't think that it was fair that Simon Kinberg, a producer at Fox at the time, best known for directing the last 2 X-Men films. Actually, no, he directed only Dark Phoenix. That Dark Phoenix was his directorial debut. Not great there, bud.
Oh, boy.
But he's known for writing on a lot of the X-Men films and being a producer for them. He basically also works on the Lucasfilm side of things as a producer, and he basically told her, hey, here's my opinion of Josh Trank, and since Fantastic Four was a Fox film,
oh, boy.
And since Kinberg and Kathleen Kennedy were already well known to each other at the time, she took Kinberg's word, and I worry that while I like a lot of Kinberg's work, I wonder if this was a ploy to just get rid of Josh Trank because of the fact that Trank wanted his own story in Fantastic Four and Kinberg. But we're going to go back to the good positive of this. The positive of this is George and Kathleen are being honored, and I think they rightfully should be. George and Kathleen are great producers.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a huge resume behind them. And, like, even on some of the films that you might not like about George, like maybe you don't like all of the Star Wars films that he worked on, you have to admit the world building and his producing skills were never the issue. His producer skills was never the issue. I think in the case of the prequels, there's a producer that I don't like because he was a yes man. But in terms of Lucas and Kennedy, they really advanced films to where they are today. Without them, I don't think the film industry would be where they are, and I think same with Spielberg. So the three of them together are really a good team. And so it makes sense that she's kind of carrying their legacy by running Lucasfilm now. Making Star Wars and soon Indiana Jones 5.
They're making
they announced that a few years back. Yeah. I think they're filming right now, but I think they had to stop because Harrison got injured, which is very common. It's very common for Harrison these days to get injured.
He's an old man.
He's an older guy, and a lot of the stuff. Although usually it's not stunts, it's usually just something on set that messes him up. Like in the case of like Episode 7, his leg got caught by the Millennium Falcon door, and so so it was one of like the dropping doors, and so they had to shoot around that for a few days until he could recoup, which makes sense. He's a little older. You got to worry about that.
Yeah. I didn't think they would be.
Although at the same time, this is a guy who also flies his own planes, and then, well, until recently, anyways, because I think they took away his ability.
They took away his life.
Yeah, well, because he crashed them like all the time. Like,
how many plane crashes has he been in?
I think it was at least. I remember 2 for sure were in the news. Like this was years ago. 2 for sure made news. Because like one of them happened, and this was like during the film, like during the time like between filming of like the sequel films. So I think, or before episodes, like when Episode 7 was announced, but before they started filming probably. And so like everybody knew he was likely going to be in it, and then they hear about this plane crash, and it's like, oh no,
not again.
And then another one happened later. And that's when I think talks of like taking his license happen. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember for sure if he got it taken or not.
I did not think anyone would be ballsy enough to go for Mr. Jones the 5th time after the previous incidents.
Yeah.
But you know what? Hopefully it'll be good.
I think it will be. It's in the right hands, I think. So we'll see. It'll probably be the last one, Harrison.
Probably.
They're probably going to set up like a reboot after this. Yeah. But they're doing a lot of honorary like old Lucasfilm stuff. Like they're making a Willow TV show. So, the old Willow movie with Warwick Davis, Wicket from Star Wars. The Ewok. He plays like a wizard, like he's like a wizard in Willow. It's like fantasy.
Oh boy,
it's a fantasy movie. It's a good movie. So this is like they're doing a mini-series sequel, I think, to it.
All right.
Anyways, so that's our Star Wars news. Now we get into the. Once again, I'll give another spoiler warning.
Yeah.
Full spoilers for this book because we are deep diving because we have thoughts.
Oh boy.
So let's start. I guess we should just. So we thought Into the Dark was rough, or you did. I didn't think Into the Dark was as rough. I think yes, a lot of bad things happened in Into the Dark, but
Into the Dark, everybody got to walk away, except for Hogg.
Haig, which is referenced in this book, so that's nice. I think even though we jumped ahead a few books and skipped a bunch of books, I think it worked out because Claudia Gray wrote it, so it was basically almost you could almost have a direct sequel between this and Into the Dark. There's just a few gaps that you're like in your knowledge of like certain characters.
Very much to me, and I'm gonna bring up the films. It's like there's a time gap in between the films, much like these books. There's a time gap in between. Some new characters are introduced, and
they of course still have a history.
Yeah,
because sure, we never met these characters, but characters are still going to be like having lives before the events of what we see.
Yep.
Thankfully, in this case, we'll eventually go back and you'll get to see those lives, and which maybe then we'll, like, on a reread after you've read those books, then you'll have, because some of these deaths did not hit you as hard because you didn't have the context. But, like, yeah. So this book is definitely darker.
Yeah.
But we were warned. Like Claudia, like a lot of the authors were like, Claudia Gray was like, she was asked, she was like, so who should we be worried for? And she was just like, everybody.
I don't think I was warned beforehand, but okay.
No, I may have left that out.
No, you were like, I need that.
I need the emotion.
Okay.
I don't know, though. I was listening to the audiobook, and I got emotional about one of the deaths.
Yeah.
Like, we were texting each other. Because, once again, you were behind me. I was, like, 3/4 of the way through the book. And then the next day, you're like, I'm done. And I'm like, I'm at work. I can't finish this book. I'm, like, a few chapters behind. I only got, like, 4 more chapters. And then so I'm listening to it, like, on my way to, like, I can't remember what I got off work, and I was listening to it. And I was texting you, and we were talking about it as I was listening to the last few chapters. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, my God, this just happened. And you're, like, trying really hard not to tell me, like, what happens.
Yeah.
You know, we'll get to it. We'll tell that story, the rest of that story when we get there, from the beginning.
The beginning.
So Avar Chris, as we last talked about, was put in charge of Starlight Beacon. She is no longer in charge of Starlight Beacon. Yeah,
at the start of the book.
No, because
I don't know where she went.
Well, she went off
there anymore.
They explain later in the book that she went off to go find the Eye, who she believes is Lorna D, which Lorna D is actually not the Eye. She's one of the Tempest Runners.
Yeah, are important, but not.
They're like second in commands.
Yeah,
because it's Eye, Tempest Runner, the Storms, which are like the Tempest Runners run the Storms individually, so there's like and then there's like multiple Storms beneath that. And then you have the Strikes, which are like the small teams within the Storms. Like you'll have like your squad, your units. So you have like a squad of 4, and that's your Strike. And it's all Storm related because of the planet that the Eye, that Markion and his dad are from. The Eyes.
I think the cold open, speaking of Markion,
it starts with him.
Markion talking to this squad. It's either with Markion or
I think it's
Fair.
Yeah, it's Markion talking to Thaya Fair, his who's like his second, like almost like not quite a second in command. She's kind of just his secretary.
Yeah.
But
she's like, I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
that works for me.
She's like, yeah, I'm fine with that because I know what Markion needs done, and I'll just get whatever he needs done.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is the be-all, end-all of their relationship, basically.
Markion will tell her to do something, she'll do it, and she's fine with that.
I think the thing that...
She questions some of his stuff, but that's later on. But she's still, like, not enough to, like, out loud say these questions, or even to, like, confront him about it, because she's still, like, my place is serving.
Like, she even is, like, a lot of people want to lead, but they don't know how to follow.
Yep. Yeah, and so basically we get set up for like Markion and Markion's talking to Thea Fair saying, "Okay, get what I need ready for our big plan." Because Markion's like, finally all this build up that has been going on for the rest of the books. Which, sorry, so all of this Markion planning has
like also
we're finally getting our final.
He's also like, we got this Jedi temple. We just destroyed it.
Yeah, like they just went through a Jedi temple and ransacked it because they have this great secret weapon that's really good at taking out Jedi. And they've used it publicly once because it took out Loden Greatstorm at the Republic Fair, which basically the Republic Fair was... Because I'm going to fill in some of your gaps.
Yeah.
It's
basically
very similar. Yeah, it's very similar to the world. Like, you know how back in the day we would have world fairs. We don't really do them as much anymore, which is kind of a disappointment because world fairs were kind of, you know, it was good for uniting everybody. But basically the Republic was like, we're going to do this great fair, and this is going to show everybody, hey, it's kind of in the branding that that the Chancellor Lena So has kind of been leaning in on, that we are the Republic. Everybody's the Republic. Whether you're Outer Rim, Core, doesn't matter. You are the Republic, and we take care of each other.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, things did not go great because that was when the Nihil and the Dringar striked, and it was basically this collective effort that basically like make the Republic and Jedi look bad, and it kind of worked to a degree.
Yeah.
I know. But the Jedi basically end up tracking like one of the camps where they believe that the Eye is hiding.
Yeah.
And they don't find him, but they find the dead body of Loden.
Yeah.
Which of course Bell
goes
throughout this entire book. He still
goes through some shit.
He's still going through the ringer from it because Bell was Loden's apprentice, and now he is assigned to Indira Stokes, who is okay. We're kind of skipping.
Yeah.
So
we actually, I think
we're on the right track because Bell is the next main focal point. It's Bell and Buryaga on a mission together. Which I love this relationship between Bell and Buryaga.
Yes.
It is just so wholesome.
Yeah, it is very much like a weird buddy cop kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Buryaga is over here like, look, man, it's gonna be fine.
And
Buryaga's also got like the relationship between Buryaga and his master isn't as like tense or conflicted as a lot of other ones we see.
Yeah.
Like it actually seems like a pretty good one.
Yeah, Buryaga and I'm gonna pull up the names so that way we don't mess them up.
Yeah.
But yeah, his master, she's very much like, she basically trusts him a lot to be able to basically do things on his own, which is fair. He's a Wookiee. Yeah. While he's young for a Wookiee.
Fucking trust Wookiees. They know their shit.
While he's young for a Wookiee, he's still
older than a lot of
the other Padawans.
I think he might be older than a lot of the other people on
like some of the masters even. Yeah. Because we have a lot of human characters, so yeah. But yeah, Bell and Buryaga are just so great Buryaga's great as a friend.
Yeah.
Because Bell Nibasek is Buryaga's master. But yeah, Bell kind of relies on Buryaga as a friend.
Yeah.
Because Bell is, of course, still dealing with the trauma of losing his master.
Yeah.
Essentially twice. Because at the end of the first book, Loden was was basically kidnapped by Marchion.
I was told that in the book. It's like he was kidnapped, and Bell initially assumed that he had died. But he's like...
Yeah, and everybody told him that.
Yeah.
Bell was like, I'm not sure about this, but all the masters are telling me, yeah, he's gone. Mm-hmm. So to move on, the Jedi, you can feel the loss, but you got to move on.
Yeah.
Something that we talked about in last week with Into the Dark.
And so eventually he finds, like, his master's dusted corpse.
Yeah, because he's basically turned into, like, the way they describe it, it's like almost like this rough stone.
Yeah.
But like once you touch it.
Yeah. I think they call it like being husked.
Yeah, husked. They say that you turn to a husk, and which Bell thinks that that's not quite an accurate description because he says it's way worse than that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's kind of dealing with that, and he's dealing with the fact that he blames himself.
Yeah.
Because he's like, if I had just followed my instincts and looked for him anyways, he might not have been husked. Yeah. And so he's dealing with that, and then Indira is trying to be a good master because she's not old. She's young as a master.
She's trying. She's inexperienced. And I think
because he's her first apprentice. Yeah. And so she's trying, and Buryaga is kind of there as a good friend to kind of lead him on the right path as a Jedi and going, it's fine that you have these feelings, but you gotta kind of find your peace with them. Mm-hmm. Like, it's fine that you have these feelings, but don't
dwell on them for too long.
Yeah, don't let it be the only thing you're thinking about. Yeah. Meanwhile, speaking of Jedi that are having to relearn themselves, Elzar,
who I don't know exactly what.
Yeah, something terrible happened during the Great. He did something really terrible.
I don't know what he did, but the first thing we meet is him fucking doing like a handstand in the ocean.
Yeah, because basically, No, you know what? I'm gonna not tell you what happened. I'm gonna let book 2 when we get to it.
I'm like,
but yeah, he made a big mistake, and
obviously,
and of course, so as the book kind of tells you, Orla Jareni's kind of guiding him on this path of finding inner peace again. And he also kind of has cut himself off from the Force in a way, so like he's similar to Bell. He's struggling with his connection, and so he's kind of like, I don't know if I even want to feel the Force again.
He's like, maybe it is a case of where he's kind of like, maybe I don't deserve to. But he's also, I think, what was the other thing? There's another thing about him that I'm trying to remember.
He loves Avar Kriss.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
That's a through line.
It's something that's set up in the first book, and it's come all the way to here. Elzar is a hopeless romantic.
Yeah. He's like, that's my girl. I love that one.
But I also can't dwell on those.
I understand my, like...
I know my role as a Jedi means I cannot have this attachment. Yeah, because him, Elzar, and Stellan grew up together. They were, like, the best of friends.
Yeah.
The 3 best friends that, anyone could have.
So...
Because they all basically grew up with the same... A lot of these characters that are masters were, Jedi and Padawans with each other, with the exception of, like, Nibasik. She's a bit older. But a lot of the masters grew up in the same generation. And we kind of see that, like, friendship kind of, like, how it's evolved since. Because they've all gone their different paths. Like, Elzar kind of is known for being this rogue Jedi, very Qui-Gon-like, doing what he...
I think...
Like, he's known before the events of Book 2 for being the type of Jedi to just do what the Force tells him.
I see, like, the distinction. I don't know a lot about Avar, so I'm not going to comment
Avar's
a non-entity in this book.
Yeah, she's mentioned, and she appears at the end, but she's not.
Yeah. I think the problem with Elzar is that he feels too much. Like you said, you use the big words, but I'm just going to use the small ones.
Yeah,
I'm like, fuck it.
Yeah, his attachments.
He is a hopeless romantic.
Oh, yeah, that, yeah. Yeah.
And Stellan,
on the other hand, is very much rigid. At least by the time we meet him, by the time we meet him in the books.
And I think the problem comes, like,
the clashing of those ideas.
To realize, the Council and the Force, one, don't always agree, and then he sort of goes a slight existential crisis that Elzar isn't having at the moment.
Elzar is actually kind of almost... They're on opposite, like, journeys. They're on opposite journeys that are going to lead to the same point.
Elzar is like, I'm not sure if I want to open up to the Force anymore. Whereas Stellan's like, I don't know who I would be without it.
Yep. Like, they're both learning the same lesson, but from opposite directions.
Yeah.
And so, like... And then Avar...
I don't know.
Doesn't really have a lesson that she's learning right now, as far as what we can see in the books. But she's kind of the and it's weird and it's unfortunate for Elzar because when because he's being trained by Orla Jareni, who is basically I would argue Stellan's foil in this book.
Yeah,
because Orla's like, trust the Force. Don't worry about what the council says. She's already coming up with in her head arguments that she's gonna have with Stellan because they're like, oh, we're finally ready to go to Starlight Beacon, so they get a ride from the vessel.
Yeah.
Which
all our friends are back.
Yeah, all our friends, and they happily they bring her on because they're like, we love you, Orla. And
I think she
has to do introductions for Elzar,
and Elzar's like, I don't fucking understand this rock man,
which nobody does at first.
Yeah. But the reason why they're fucking Elzar's on this goddamn ocean planet doing handstands is because Orla told him to, basically, and she's like, you thought you could control the Force instead of, being a part of it.
So now you gotta basically become one with nature to kind of find that middle ground.
Yeah. And so she's like, you can't control it. That's a lesson you're gonna have to learn.
Yeah.
Go do handstands in the ocean while the tide's coming.
But and I think that fits the lesson though, because the tides are basically representing the Force, and you doing the handstands in it is you fighting it, and it's a lesson of you won't win that fight.
Uh, I guess we should go to Stellan.
We've mentioned him
several-
enough.
So
Stellan
is the current like operating head of Starlight
He's
Beacon.
basically put himself in charge because he is a council member, and so he has that power.
Yeah. And so he's like basically going around doing communications and running the day-to-day operations.
Yeah, and since the Nihil have been doing their strikes, and they've been getting worse, even though
they're supposedly
winning.
defeated.
Yeah, like as far as they know, like the Nihil have started to like kind of spread out.
Off.
Yeah, they splintered off because there's a lot of infighting, and as far as they can tell, they've got a good lead on where the eye is because they think it's Lorna D. And
we know it's not.
we know it's not, but
they don't.
So they think they've got a good lead, and Avar's off doing that, which Stellan is kind of like, shouldn't do that. Which is why I'm taking position.
So
and like
Elzar,
and so a lot of like people are coming in like injured, and like Starlight Beacon is kind of doing what it's supposed to. It's operating as a outer rim safe haven, and it's currently on path. I don't think it's there yet. I think it's on path to be over the planet Irem.
Yeah, that's where it's supposed to sort of like stay in orbit for a little while and then go.
But it's like they're like almost heading to like they're I think they aren't orbiting over it yet.
Oh, no, I mean like their destination
is
there so they can send people back and forth.
To
help them with one of their projects.
Oh yeah, so they're already there. That's right.
I think Aram is actually having like a problem with one of their water plants.
Yeah, they're having some water issues because it's brought up when later on when Thendaka says, "Hey, we could offer some help," and Stellan's immediately coming up with excuses for why not to accept it. He's like, "No, we can't take it because you got to deal with your problems. We're here to help you. You got your water issues, so you can't give us water."
Yeah.
So
he basically is like, "Don't worry about it. That's like a problem for work tomorrow."
Yeah. But yeah, so Elzar shows up.
But before he does, Elzar as a fucking joke.
Oh yeah, Elzar is a joke.
Yeah, he's like
the best character in the book. The best character in the book.
What to do? And Stellan is like in his office, and there's just this...
Yeah, he's in the main like deck with Astala Maru because Astala's running comms and all that. And Astala's like, "Hey, you got something from Elzar," and he's like, "Oh, I got a gift." And he's like, "I didn't expect to hear from him. I guess he must be doing better." And gets
he gets a protocol droid.
Yep, JJ5145, the most excited droid ever.
Like
everything comes out as a happy tone.
Yep. And Stellan complains about this for like halfway through the fucking book.
Yeah. Yeah, because basically JJ's like, "Hey, I want to do this. I want to do that. What do you got for me? What do you got for me?" And basically Stellan, as a way to just get him out of his hair, is like, "Do these minor tasks for me that will take all day."
Yeah.
And so, Stellan running in his day-to-day operations is, of course, having to deal with pilots that want to leave because they're like, "Hey, we got jobs to do. We're fine now. We've all healed up. We're just gonna leave." That's not how things operate at Starlight. You can't just leave. You got to give what does he say? 2 week? What is it? 2 days notice? 2 days notice.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And
it's not like you can just immediately leave.
No, basically. It's like it's more than a day. You have to get 2 hours. That's it. 2 hours. I think
2 hours is a lot more reasonable than 2 days.
I think it was 2 hours notice or something. It's either 2 hours or 2 days.
Yeah.
It's somewhere around that. Anyways, he says you got to give notice. You can't just leave. This bugs the crap out of one particular pilot, the worst character in the book. So we had the best character in JJ, but now let's talk about the worst character, Coley Lynn.
Coley Lynn, who
I blame Coley Lynn for everything that happens in this book.
I don't blame him, but I'm like, God, you are a... I'm gonna use a swear word here that starts with C.
Okay, we won't actually say it. How about that?
Okay.
I think our audience is smart enough to know. I think our audience is smart enough to know.
Yeah. God.
I don't mind swear words, but that one might be a little much.
He fucking sucks.
Yeah,
man.
he does.
He's not...
I think I blame him because of his greed. His greed is literally the reason the next few the bad things happen. Because he makes deals with the worst people.
Yeah.
And then doesn't... Yeah. So
Yeah,
like,
be careful.
yeah, you're good. So Coley Lynn gets into a heated argument with Stellan about, hey, I gotta get out of here. I got jobs to do. Which like his job is really just having like I think he has like some illegal stuff on his ship that he's got to get
To be fair, I probably wouldn't want to be
on a Jedi station with illegal.
with illegal.
Yeah, but
Oh,
Coley is really shady. Like, we learned that he has a past with our vessel crew.
yeah.
Because
He
Coley,
has a past with Leox specifically.
yes, because Coley used to work for the Bind Guild
Yes.
until he got fired because
Because of
Leox did not tell on him.
he basically Leox knew.
Yeah, basically.
So Coley Lynn.
So Coley Lynn
used
was
to
basically
run,
he used to run on the same ship with Leox, and he was above Leox. He basically taught Leox everything that he knew of, like, here's how you do like maintenance and stuff. Here's how you do like here's how you do the budgetary stuff as well. And this is where the problem comes in. Because of the way that Coley was teaching Leox to do it, it was basically siphoning funds and taking it into Coley's pocket. Basically, he was pocketing money. And Leox, being a smart enough mechanic and engineer, was like, that's not how you do this. And he kind of started doing it the correct way.
So, no, while yes, you are right in that he was doing some shady
it wasn't
stuff,
money.
It wasn't money. So what he would do is he would drain a little bit of energy off the like energy cells.
Oh yeah, and they would
and then he would sell the
sell it.
energy cells.
That's where the money
they
came
were,
in.
Like
Yeah.
off planet.
That's right.
And Leox didn't report him, but one day basically
he decided to do it the correct way.
Yeah.
He was basically like, oh, this is how, because Leox was smart enough to know that's not how you do that.
Yeah.
And so he was like, if it was like any other pilot, maybe he would have tricked them into thinking that's how you do it. Nope. Leox was, and so, but Leox also was like, I'm not the type of guy to tell on a guy.
He's like, I'm not a snitch.
But
if
I'll
the
just start doing the
paperwork
yeah,
and the reports show
that I changed the method, and they've happened to look back on the papers and go, oh, he's doing it right, he's doing it wrong.
Mhm.
Why is he doing it wrong? Then it's not really on Leox. He's just doing his job. Of course, Coley doesn't see it that way. Coley sees it as, you reported me.
Yeah. And so that is the start of a rivalry between these two.
Yeah, and then of course Coley doesn't like Affy because Affy ended the Bind Guild.
Yeah, he's like, you cost me my job. You shut down the factory where I work at, basically.
Yeah, because he wasn't fired from the Bind Guild. He was just
The Bind
moved
Guild
to
was disbanded.
no, well, yeah, and like, but before the disbandment, he wasn't fired because of Leox. He was moved to a lesser position where he couldn't
fuck things up as badly.
where he couldn't steal anything that was of value.
Okay.
So yeah, Coley just hates everybody.
Yeah, he hates Geode because Geode's
Doesn't make sense to him.
doesn't make sense. That's about it.
Yeah,
That's it.
he's like, he hangs around with the people I don't like. He doesn't make sense. I hate him.
Yeah. So Nan is met up with
Chansey
Yarrow, who I know jack shit about.
Yeah,
except that
Chansey.
she has a daughter and wishes their relationship was better.
Yeah, so this is knowledge that comes from the second of the junior novels. And so, no, young adult novels. Sorry. Second of the young adult novels, which is where Nan appears in it, and we meet Chansey and a few other characters.
I also, and as of current, Nan is going through like a weird identity crisis.
Yeah, she's no longer Nihil because she disagrees with what they're doing to a degree. Like, she doesn't want to really do what they're doing. Like, she still is like, Nihil are great, Markion's great and all that, but I don't know about the rest of the Nihil.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Chansey is just like, nah, fuck the Nihil.
Chansey's like, I got this family called the Graffs. I know they're important. I don't know.
Yeah, they work for. Yeah, basically, Chansey is working for the Graffs, who are basically a family that's pretty rich. It's on the same. Yeah, and they're basically the opposite of another family that's in the books, the Santecas, which you may recognize the name from Episode 7, Lord Santeca, the old man that gives the map to Poe at the beginning of the film, then gets killed by Kylo. Yeah, that guy. But because his family has been like forever very important to.
Okay.
Santecas are very important to the High Republic era, and you'll see that as we go through the other books.
Yeah. So
And the
they're-
graphs are basically their complete opposites.
and they're being held in basically holding.
Yeah, because they get caught by Stellan and his group.
Yeah. And
No. It was because that's the mission in the first episode. In the first chapter, Buryaga and
Yep.
Bell capture them. They bring them in because Bell recognizes Nan. From the report that
like Reith
left.
Yeah.
And
he's like Reith is like in his report. He's like, by the way, don't trust it.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, she may look innocent and not dangerous at all, but no.
It's the exact opposite. She's very dangerous.
And like apparently we learned that Bell was actually in that meeting in the last book that we read.
Yeah.
Where Reith was like, "Oh, I recognize that." And so like Bell was apparently there during that. So Bell's taking it seriously, Buryaga a little bit, not as much.
Yeah. So they bring them in, and they're like, "Don't worry, we've got this guy here." And they bring in, I think this is where we're introduced. To Raygold Cole.
Yeah, Raygold Cole. Yeah.
The Jedi equivalent, and I've said this to Caleb like throughout the past 2 days. He's like the Jedi equivalent of a kindergarten teacher. And
yeah.
He's like so
because he, along with Yoda, were basically the ones in charge of like teaching the younglings a little bit.
So he's like, "What's up with all the storm imagery?" He's like poking fun at the naming convention.
Because Raygold and Stellan decide that they're gonna go in, and basically they good cop bad cop it. To a degree. Like, I think it's good cop and even better cop is how they go in. Like, they decide they're not going to be mean in any way. Yeah, they're just like...
After a while, they were like, okay, you don't have to tell us anything.
We'll just
We're not going to beat you.
Yeah.
We're not going to, like,
yeah,
because
that's something Nan, like... Because she's used to the Nihil ways.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I know exactly what you're going to do. You're going to torture me, and you're going to do all this. And they're like... They look at each other like, what the fuck?
Like, no. And Chansey's, like...
Chansey,
so they leave.
Chansey's a little bit more knowledgeable on it.
So they leave, and Chansey's like, that's not what they're going to do. What they're actually just going to do is make us wait for fucking forever.
Yeah, they're going to wait till one of us decides to tell them something.
Yeah. So, as much as you want to, Nan, don't say anything.
Yeah, because even if you give them because basically they're trying, Stellan and Raygold are basically trying to figure out if they really are no longer part of the Nihil.
Yeah.
And they're basically like, well, if they give us old information, that means they likely aren't part of the group anymore. Whereas Nan's thinking, I still have some very, like, current information, because Nan is really good at getting information. That's kind of her main skill throughout the series. And so she's just like, I have this useful information, but if I give it to them, then it's not going to look good for me either way. Even if I give them old information, then it just still doesn't look good, because then the Nihil will be mad at me, and I don't want the Nihil to be mad either.
Yeah. Speaking of...
Because Markion won't care.
Yep. Speaking of the Nihil...
One of the ships that's part of this recovery operation is we are told that they are a crew that are carrying Rathtars.
I don't know what Rathtars look
You've
like.
You've seen episode 7, right?
Yeah.
It's the little ball creatures.
Ooh.
The ones that were on Han's ship when we first meet him in episode 7.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's why they're bad. They're in the same family as the Sarlacc.
Ah, okay.
They're in that same family of creatures.
Okay. Why
So
would you do this?
So we are told that there are 2 ships filled with them.
Improbably. And, like, even looking over the cargo...
Yeah, even as
the
Jedis look over, they're like, that seems stupid. And they're like, and the Jedi are like, we don't know much about, like, cargo shipping, but that seems stupid. And then, like, when the other pilots learn about it, they're like, yeah, that's kind of stupid.
Don't worry. This is all a very clever ruse.
Yeah. Well, it's not a complete lie about there being creatures on the ships.
Yeah, that's not a lie.
Because there is no, like, major weapon on the... Well, there's, like, minor weapons, but there's nothing, like...
But nothing, like, too serious.
Yeah. So it turns out at least one of the ships, I think both of them are theirs. I can't remember the context. I think only one of them is really theirs.
Only one of them is really theirs.
Okay.
The other one...
is really just a pilot that was carrying Rathtars.
Yeah, who really was.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
But yeah, one of them. So one of them turns out to be a group of Nihil that are
Mhm.
working directly for Markion Ro
Yeah.
on a secret
Uh,
assignment to.
Kale, Lael, and Warera.
Yep.
I don't remember the species name, but they're
Kel
like
is the Powin, which is the race from Utapau, the
Mm.
episode 3, the pale grayskin race that Obi-Wan meets up with on Utapau.
Okay.
And that's Kale. I think one of them is human,
one of them is, yeah.
and then I forget what the last one is.
But basically, Marchin Row has sort of like told them, "You're not coming back from this one."
Yeah, this is a plan that there is no point of that there is no returning.
They're like, once,
and they're fine
they're-
with this.
they are true believers.
Yeah, they are like, we will die for the glory of the Nihil.
basically, yeah.
And it makes sense with the plan of why they wouldn't want survivors to a
Yeah.
degree. I think either way, Markion's point gets across, and I think Markion realizes that at the end of the book. But like, no survivors or survivors, I think his point makes it. But
Yeah.
no survivors would be even better.
Uh,
Basically, the plan
the plan
is
is to
to not bomb, not destroy the Starlight Beacon with a bomb, but to just remove its main primary systems.
It's basically to disassemble it.
Yeah, and let
with
it
screws.
let it kind of destroy itself.
Yeah, he. Basically, that's it.
Yeah, let it destroy itself. Make the Jedi look weak. Make the Republic look weak.
It's like if you took out every screw in a table and just waited for it
To collapse
to collapse
on its own weight.
That's
and,
basically what they do.
yeah. But while they're on the Starlight Beacon, making their way to where they're supposed to go to get their thing, they've also released a creature.
Yeah.
Known as.
I don't know what the creature is called.
We have a name because it's named in the previous book. It's the Great Leveler, which is very accurate to what it does.
Yeah. That fucker leveled the playing field good.
And apparently, there's plenty of them.
Yeah.
Because we learned that Markion basically knows where to get them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming they're creatures that are from his home planet.
Yeah, they would have to be.
And I'm assuming that's why we don't know much about him yet.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that the comic that's currently coming out that's about him, it will explain it.
So they released that.
Yeah,
in
and
one specific area of the station.
yeah, it's basically like in the middle area, like
Yeah.
where all the systems are. And it's like where the cargo hold is for everything, because they go through the cargo hold a
Yeah.
lot, and then like it's also where like where all the primary systems are.
Yeah.
And so at this point, everybody's on the ship.
Yep,
Elzar's there.
everyone's-
Everybody's made it to the space station. Like Stellan and Elzar have talked. Stellan, even before Elzar gets there, Stellan and a lot of the other Jedi that are there are starting to
They're-
feel weak
getting,
and tired. And they're getting visions.
Fatigues and like migraines throughout. Basically, I think like the entire 2 to 3 weeks it takes for the Nihil's plan to happen.
Yeah, because they've been on the space station for a while.
Yeah. And at first they're just like, oh, it's just because there's like a lot of people here who don't want to be here, who are like separate.
Yeah, they
from
think
their
they
families.
think for the most part it's basically them just getting fatigued from doing the work.
Yeah.
Like Regold is like, I think all this like, I don't think there's nothing bad going on, but like everybody else is like, there's something weird going on with the
Yeah.
Force. Like it feels weird, and Regold's like, nah, I don't feel it.
So
Well, he's like, I feel it, but I think it's like just
but
everybody's
he's like-
exhausted.
yeah, he's like everybody on this station is tired, and we're basically psychically linked to everyone.
And we're
so it's-
we're short staffed, and
we're short staffed, and I think it's another common thing where like I don't think I see any of them like sleep more than an hour.
yeah, Stellan especially,
Yeah.
I don't think gets any sleep in the book other than
No.
when they finally force him to later.
Until they literally are.
Like later on in the book, they finally go, "You have to sleep."
Yeah.
Like Nibasik is like, "I'm gonna watch him and make sure he sleeps." Like she's joking, but not.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, eventually Nibasik, Buryaga, Indira, and everybody else gets on the ship,
And so
and Stellan and Orla arrive along with
Mhm.
the crew, and of course, immediately, Coley-Lin and Leox get into it,
yeah.
and Leox looks over at Affy and is like, "Whatever you do, just don't mess with him.
Mhm.
Keep an eye on him, but don't.
Yeah.
He's gonna be trouble."
He's a nuisance, but he isn't dangerous most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time. And so yeah.
And so they Regal Cole, the poor man.
Yeah, he's one of the first people. Like he's investigating with
He's like, okay,
because Orla kind of starts to feel it.
yeah, and he's like, all right, you know what? Fine.
Yeah, him, Indira, and Orla go into the sublevels to start looking for like whatever's causing this trouble of them being exhausted with the Force.
And Regal's like, look, he still is thinking like, nah.
No, this isn't a big deal, but the fact that more than one Jedi
he's like, okay, fine, we'll go and check it out.
And so, whose idea was it to split? Was it? It was Orla's.
I think so, yeah.
So Indira goes left.
Mm-hmm.
Regal goes straight, and then Orla goes left. Indira goes right.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they basically fork. And so they eventually though, Orla feels like something bad happening. Like she hears Regal calling out for help through the Force.
And then just
and not just her that feels that. Stellan feels that. Almost every Jedi basically gets that message that oh, something bad's happening.
And then like the Force equivalent of like radio static.
Yeah. And so Orla goes back, retraces her step, goes over to where Regal went, and finds Regal is a husk.
Yep. And they're like, we can't do anything with this.
And moments later, another call for help.
Yeah.
It's now Indira.
Yeah. Except Indira's is a little bit different, in which the way that hers is described, it's like she is physically attacked.
Yeah. And so
instead of like the weird Force collapse, it's like, oh, I got, because it's written from her perspective. It's like I got punched in the face and then kicked in the...
Yeah. And while Orla's on her way to Regal before she finds his body, she actually gets blinded for a second, like physically blinded, not like...
Not Force blinded, like she loses her sight.
Yeah, and so eventually she like fights off, like I guess mentally fights off whatever is going on. That's when she finds Regal's body, and she noticed that Indira also called for help during this time, and she sees Indira's husk body in front of her as well, but Indira's not in the same state.
As bad.
No, Indira is still at a point where she could be saved.
Yeah.
So she immediately goes, "Hey, Stellan, send some emergency medics and stuff right now, like right now." And so they come in with like a lift, like the little and
hover stretcher.
Yeah, a little hover stretcher.
And they're like, okay,
we got to be real careful here because last time we touched a husk, it went to dust.
Yep.
And so they very carefully pick up Indira, and they realize, oh, okay, she's not in as bad of a state because we were able to pick her up. Last time it was just a touch and dust.
Yep.
And unfortunately, poor little Belle, who is already dealing with the fact
Master number 2 is
Two masters essentially lost the same way. Belle goes through a crisis.
Yeah. The good news is no one harms Ember. His like
his Charhound. Ember. There was points where I was about to yell at Claudia Gray, like listening to the audiobook. I almost like just shouted at Claudia Gray, "You better not kill that dog."
And I don't know what Nibasik and Buryaga are like doing.
Yeah, they're kind of like watching over the medical wing.
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing. They're just like making sure the medical wing is fine and orderly.
And so like now they have another. So we're already down to one person being dead, and we're only 5 chapters in at this point.
So.
And so the body count's gonna start going faster than this. So at this point,
meanwhile,
back with the Nihil.
The Nihil, they've like started going through and disassembling.
So, but they
Holy Lynn has fucking caught on to them.
Yeah, because they're eating lunch. Because they're eating lunch.
Yeah.
And basically, the way lunch works is
like
everybody gets their one ration pack, but it's all based on what species they are.
Yeah.
Like everybody on Starlight gets food, but they've like rationed it out and figured out, okay, you're a human, you'll get this much. You're a Wookiee, you get a little bit more. And so. And it's because once again they're short-staffed and they haven't really they're running on very low supplies and rest, and so Coley basically joins their lunch table and is like, "Hey, I know you guys are up to something. I see you guys whispering. I want in," because he thinks it's money, because it's Coley, and he's like, "I want whatever shares of the money you're gonna get." Oh yeah. Oh, me. Oh yeah, I could see that on the feed here. No, you're good. It's fine.
Mm.
No, this is good.
But Coley Lynn's basically like, hey, you can bribe me and I'll be quiet.
Yeah, he's like, I don't like the Jedi either, so I won't say anything if you give me a share. And the
Nihil basically,
the Nihil are like, this guy's an idiot.
They basically go, oh, we'll give you a share, all right.
Everybody's gonna get a share.
Basically, yeah.
And so they're like, okay, and
Sure.
and Coley also kind of lets slip that they've already got some prisoners and stuff
Yeah.
on the ship,
And they're like,
and like
noted.
yeah.
Okay.
So they realize, oh, this is some Nihil prisoners. Let's go free them, and maybe they can help us. And so they free Nan.
And they're like, oh, by the way, we're just doing this because Hogg was
Haig, yeah.
Haig. God, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, Haig was.
Haig,
we knew
sorry.
Haig. We knew Haig, and
We
he
knew
was
Haig,
chill.
and he was a pretty.
He was a good
They're
Nihil.
like, he was one of the best fighters we ever had.
Yeah.
So
this is in honor of him.
yeah.
Meanwhile, Chansey's like, I don't trust these guys.
And Nan's
They freed us, but I don't trust them. And Nan's like, but they're Nihil.
basically.
She's also kind of jealous because like they talk about how they got admission directly from Markion,
Yeah.
and she's like,
And
she-
Nan's like, I want that.
I want that so badly.
Okay.
So yeah,
think
so they
it's
start
time-
going through the tunnels and all that. So where are
Yeah.
we going?
I think we should take a visit over to Marchin Row
Yeah, Markion. Yeah.
and the traitor.
Oh yes, the traitor. So it turns out that Markion has been sleeping with a Republic senator.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically Senator Guerra Staros,
Yeah.
who is the mother of one of the main characters from one of the other books.
The funniest thing is the affair. His secretary, is like, so you're gonna sleep with her again, aren't you? When she gets here, and he's like, yeah,
And she's also like, also we're gonna kill her when we're done, right? And he's like, oh yeah,
probably, yeah.
yeah. We're just using her. We're using her so that way we have the. Basically, she gave them the schematics to Starlight
Yeah.
Beacon.
And so, Staros, when she gets on there, is like, man, it sure is weird how there aren't any crew members on this ship.
Yeah, because it's specifically on Markion's
Yeah.
like main ship, the Gaze Electric,
Yep.
which is not a big. It's not a big ship, but it's got like enough like manpower that you know.
She's like, there aren't any crew members. There's just Markion and his secretary, who she like tries to start shit with, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
work.
because she's kind of jealous and curious what like the relationship
Yeah.
between Markion and Thera is,
yeah.
and it's like I know this is like a friends with benefits situation, but I want to make sure that there's nobody else.
Yeah. And it's great because it doesn't do anything.
No, because Thera's like, I'm not jealous of you. I don't give a shit.
Like I couldn't care less.
Yeah. Thera's like, you're not even really part of the cause. I don't care.
Yeah.
And so like, and then like Staros starts to leave, and so that way she can be sent to a room. And Thera looks over at Markion's like, so we're sending her to the room that's like the furthest away from your room, right? Like on the opposite end of the ship. And he's like, yeah. Send her that way. You know exactly what I want. Because basically the premise is that Markion can still visit her when he wants, but she can't. It would be harder for her to visit Markion when she wants. So Markion can still hook up, and Markion can still bother her about his plan, but she can't bug him about like whatever inane questions she has that Markion doesn't want to answer.
And I guess who have we not visited yet?
I think we've basically got our main cast at this
Yeah.
point. So
Senator So's doing.
yeah, Lena So's doing her.
She's reading report cards.
Yeah, I mean
guess.
she's the Supreme Chancellor. She's got busy work.
Uh,
Her and her dogs.
in the Queen Thandeka.
Queen
and
Thandeka
her-
is worrying about Irem.
Yeah.
And so I guess let's just kind of really get into the meat of this, which is when the first bomb goes off.
yeah.
Which and I say first bomb because there are actually a lot of explosives in this book
There are a lot.
for a book where the main villains only brought one bomb onto the ship.
I'm not sure who brought more explosives.
Well, apparently we learned that the vessel was always carrying a thermal detonator on it, like all the time. That's a great reveal.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
So the first bomb goes off.
yeah, the Nihil basically convince. They learned that Chansey's really good at like wires and stuff. Like she's really good at that stuff, and so she's the technical support that they use. And they tell her, "Hey, we need you to get into this for us, so that way we can set this thing off." And Nan's still pretty excited, but they catch some of the phrasing that the Nihil give.
And they're like, "Oh,
because the Nihil,
oh no,
yeah, because our three Nihil that are in on the plan basically go, oh yeah, this is gonna go off, and there's like they don't say that there's gonna be no escape,
They're
but they
like,
basically are like, oh yeah, we're not leaving. And Nan like Chansey and Nan both catch that, and they
like,
give each other a look. And
this wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah, they're like, why would we not be leaving? Because Nan's like, after we set this off, we're leaving, right? And they're like, nah.
No. She's like, oh no, that's not good.
Yeah, because
And Chansey, like, they actually, the Nihil team go, in truth, we didn't need you guys, but you guys being here
basically sped the
up
process. Yeah, because we would have got this done, but you basically just made it go faster. You basically made something that would have been an hour, 20 minutes instead.
Yeah.
And so they set the first bomb off, which takes out all of the critical systems, essentially, on the ship. There are no communications, or at least it appears that way.
For help.
Yeah. What they actually did is they made it to where it kind of loops communications. It's a blank communication that's always going out.
Yeah.
So that way, Starlight can't get any coming in, but anybody that tries to talk to them
that everything is normal.
Yeah, they'll think everything's normal. And then they also shut down all of the hangar doors.
Yep. No way to get out.
No way to get out.
I think they didn't turn off the radiation stuff because that's
that kind of just but they also turned off life support.
Yeah.
Which means life support's eventually there will be no air.
Yeah. So they were thorough.
Yeah. They basically thought through everything except for a couple stuff
they were
here
like,
and there.
Basically everything but like two things.
Yeah. And even then they realized that stuff and they're like, we're gonna hang here just in case somebody tries it.
They also were like, guess y'all won't be needing all these escape pods then.
Oh yeah. Which I don't like how escape pods work on Starlight Beacon. I agree with Nan on this point that the Republic was dumb. So basically the way the escape pods work, most of the time, escape pods have a backup system where, like, in case critical systems for the ship are going down, it runs on its own internal, like, power support.
Yeah.
That way you could still get on the escape pod and leave. Nope. Starlight Beacon, one of the biggest space stations of this era, their escape pods only run off of the ship. Except for, like, there's an external, like, power support that they can turn on, but then they have to worry about radiation and stuff.
Yeah.
Which you need a radiation suit to do that, which the Nihil have already figured out a solution for making sure the Jedi can't get those.
I think they give them to Coley Lynn, or he steals, like, one or two of them.
Yeah. Yeah, they give one to... Coley Lynn takes one of them.
Because he's like, just in case some weird shit happens, I guess I'll take
Yeah,
this.
and then they've taken a few, so that way they can hang out in the areas where you can't otherwise. And then, because basically, we learn later on that at the top of the space station there's some, and then at the bottom of this level there's some. So, yeah, this is when all the chaos starts to happen. So... It's not really realized by everybody that something bad's going on at this point. Like, they hear, like, something go off, but they don't...
they're like, okay.
Yeah, they don't think anything major. The Jedi kind of figure it out, though, because Stellan is looking at the support... Like, Stellan's looking at his computer is like, oh, everything just went off.
It's like, that's not supposed to happen.
Maybe I was harsh on Avar about running Starlight Beacon. That's kind of his journey, is realizing that he may have been a little too rigid.
Yeah. And he's also Stellan's also having this weird identity crisis of not only who am I without the Force, but who am I if I'm not, like, the hero of the Republic?
Yeah, because he's kind of the face of the Jedi.
That is fucking him up throughout. Like, especially
I feel like
now.
and I feel like any Jedi would be struggling with that. It's like, oh, you're going to be the entire
Yeah.
branding for the
But-
Jedi Order, and not just for a few planets here and there. No, for the entire galaxy, not even just Republic systems.
Yep.
Every planet's going to see your face, and you're going to be the Jedi that everybody knows. And you're also now in charge of like Starlight Beacon, which is supposed to represent everything good about the Republic. Whoops.
Ooh, they put a lot on that man's plate.
Yeah. So he immediately is like, okay, we got to start figuring out stuff here. We got to move some ships around. And like, so
Makes sense. So like, people are all kind of like, after a while, people sort of figure out.
they figure out, oh, we can't leave
Yeah.
at all. Like, the
and-
docking bay doors are shut, which that's okay, but it's weird that they're not. And then they also figured out because power goes out
Mhm.
and they're left with just the
They're
emergency
like,
lights.
God damn, it's hard as fuck to see in here.
Yeah. So now we have our Jedi starting to investigate what went
Mhm.
wrong. So a bunch of them start. I guess now is the time that Jedi are just going to start dropping like flies.
Yep. Now is the time.
So who's next? I think Orla goes down back into the lower levels.
I think so. Orla would be number 3. And she gets husked so goddamn quick.
Yeah, like she's there and then immediately husked
Yeah. She doesn't even get
to fight,
She
or
doesn't
she
get
doesn't
to
get a
fight.
vision, nothing.
no.
Which a lot of the time they've been getting these visions of like something like
Yeah.
either attacking them or a cry
And,
for
like,
help.
So one of the things is, I think before she goes down there, she has the discussion with Elzar about opening up more, and she's like, actually,
Now's a great
no,
time to
now
not
is the-
open up to the Force.
no, you're right. Don't do that.
Because Elzar's like, he's like, I think you're right that I need to open up to the Force more, and like, but I don't know, like, my instincts tell me not to. And she's like, yeah, don't do that right now because there's a there's something killing only Force users.
Yeah.
Let's not.
It is actively leaving everybody else alone.
Like, if you're not a Force user, you're fine.
But if you are, it's bad.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Belle is with
Belle
Ember, kind of like just standing over, like watching over
in the
Indira's body.
medical tower.
Yeah, in the medical wing. And so like
With
Buryaga.
Buryaga.
Yeah, Buryaga's trying to comfort him. Man, such a great friendship.
Buryaga, his like the 3 places that he goes are like the little makeshift command center that they make with Stellan.
Yeah, because
The
JJ.
food
yeah, 'cause JJ
stand,
comes up
and
with a
the
plan.
medical tower.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 places he goes. He never goes to like the fucking cargo area where people keep dying because I guess he has common sense.
Yeah. Also, Jedi, stop going by yourself to the cargo area.
Well,
Obviously,
it wasn't like it didn't.
well, no, but they split. No, you can't even say it didn't protect them when they were together because the 3 of them split. They split up.
Actually, I think Buryaga and Belle go, and Buryaga's like,
Yeah, like they start to walk towards it, and then Buryaga's like, let's not.
and Belle's like, no, man, those fright hollows are just getting to you.
Which
They're not
answers
like
your
real-
question from last
Yeah,
week about whether or not
There are horror movies.
Yeah, you ask if there's horror movies in the Star Wars universe. Yeah, they're called fright hollows.
But
So yeah, Belle's like, yeah, have you not watched a fright hollow? We shouldn't be down here. And Buryaga's like, that's all fiction though. That's
Yeah.
okay.
on the other hand, though, Buryaga is a Wookiee.
Yeah. Yeah, Wookiee. I would have. Yeah, a Wookiee Jedi.
Yeah,
So
But-
probably less to be afraid about.
but still,
They end up with common sense and they're like, yeah, let's go back up to the plus Belle is worried about Indira.
yeah.
So and he's like,
He's like, if it could hospitalize, like
my
if it could
master,
husk 2 masters,
3 masters.
hospitalize another.
Yeah.
Maybe we are.
Yeah, maybe we're not prepared for the.
Yeah.
They do find they're the ones who find Orla's body
Yeah,
though,
they do.
and that's why they're like, yeah, let's
Yeah,
not go
time
any
to
further.
go. And meanwhile, Leox and
Affy's exploring.
Affy's befriended this couple.
yeah,
the
so-
Ardens.
Adrian, Joss and Pekka Adrian, who
Yeah.
are like main characters in some of the short stories and
so
some of
they're-
the books.
The crew of the vessel and the Adrians are sort of like helping each other repair.
Yeah, because
ship.
at this point, all the ships are basically most of the pilots are working together
yeah,
to fix their ships if they're broken, or like they're coming up with plans of okay, who's gonna ride with who in case we
in
can't
case
get all the
stuff
ships fixed.
doesn't. Yeah,
Meanwhile, of course, Coley Lynn's like, I'm not helping anybody.
yeah. Toylan's the fuck.
Also, we learn Geode is an absolute Chad.
Yeah.
Geode, who is a rock person,
Is
apparently is a huge flirt.
apparently so.
Because
Leox and Affy kind of bring him to the side. They're like, "Could you fucking not?
Yeah,
while we're working here."
Geode starts flirting with Pika Adrian, and Joss walks over. Like, Joss is concerned that his wife is flirting with a rock person, and takes Affy aside, and Affy's like, "Oh, don't worry. He only flirts with other rock people because it'd be hard for a giant slab to have sex with somebody that's not a giant slab." And then as soon as she comforts him, she immediately goes, he's at it again.
It is one brief moment of levity in this otherwise story where everything is fucking going wrong.
Yeah, and so
it continues to go wrong.
And so Affy, like you say, Affy and Leox take Geode aside and are like, "Look, we need their help, and we're helping them.
Yeah.
Please don't flirt with Pika anymore."
And so after the bomb and the explosion, Leox has got this old fucking space tool, and he's sort of kind of looking at it and holding it up to the window, and he's like he's done.
Yeah, because he's basically got the equivalent of a stargazer, essentially, like an old fashioned stargazer to figure out because Leox is a man of classic technology. He's like, technology is good, but I also like a little bit of manual.
He's like, yeah, the
archaic stuff.
Archaic tools have their purpose for
when technology fails you. Yeah. And so Affy's like, "What's that?" And he's like,
"Oh, it's basically a thing that lets you measure the distance from a planet's atmosphere to the ship or something like that."
And so he's
like, "By the way,
we're sinking."
Yeah, he's basically, and he's like, "Don't tell anybody, though."
Yeah, don't tell anybody.
And the Jedi have also figured this out.
Yeah,
at least Stellan has.
But that's because they have technology to tell them.
Yeah, and he's also like, "We can't tell anybody about."
Yeah,
this.
Apparently. And I think this is the biggest problem that both sides I think this is where Stellan's ego kind of takes over, which is something Stellan's dealing with. Stellan's dealing with a lot in this book.
He has too much on his plate.
But yeah, he's fighting his ego to the best that he can, because he catches himself every now and then where he's like, "That's my ego."
You gotta be humble.
Yeah, and so, but he's like, "We can't tell anybody that this is going bad." And the pilot, and everybody else is like, "Is that a good idea?"
And he's like, "Do you have a better idea?"
And they're like, "Not really, but okay." Because the rest of them are most of the people questioning him aren't Jedi masters.
Yeah.
And then the ones that are masters aren't council members.
Yeah.
So they're like, "Well, I guess we're gonna go with his plan."
Meanwhile,
at this point, Nan and Chansey have kind of split from the other group.
Yeah.
And
they're going through and looking.
They're trying to figure out how to survive.
Yeah.
They're like, "Man, this plan." While the glory for the Nihil is great, or at least Nan thinks that. Yeah. Chansey's like, "Nah, fuck the Nihil." Nan's like, "The glory for the Nihil is great. It's not worth dying for."
She's like, her mission is her internal goal is her external goal. Sorry, is basically get to march in row and basically report back in
and be like, "Yeah, everything worked out."
Yep.
Whereas Chansey's just like, "No, we got to get back to the graphs. Come on, we're getting paid."
Yep. And it's, oh man.
So yeah, they're just arguing about that most of the time while figuring out okay, how do we?
They basically are going through different sections, and they're like, "Well, this route doesn't work."
Which one of their main plans is the escape pods?
Yeah. And so that's how they figure out that.
Yeah. So before they start figuring out the escape pods, though, let's go ahead and jump back to Affy, who decides to tell Pika, "Hey, we're sinking."
Yeah, and she's like,
"Because we're in the atmosphere of Irem." So, and Nihil picked like I said earlier, the Nihil picked the best time to just strike, because they're like, we could, and this was before we started filming, I talked about this.
Yeah.
The Nihil basically waited until Starlight Beacon was in atmosphere of a planet to do this.
Yeah.
Whereas if they had done this while it was just in space, it wouldn't have been as effective. Yeah, it wouldn't have been as effective as when they're in atmosphere and the station can come crashing down.
I think the top half of the station has been separated at this point.
Yes. Yeah. At this point, it's been separated because they hear the groaning of the metal as it just splits in half.
Yep.
And so yeah, at this point they're like, yeah, we kind of just have to admit things are going bad.
They're like, all right, things have gone to shit.
Yeah.
And this
and-
causes some problems
Yeah,
down in the
So there's a
docking
couple.
area.
Yeah. So there's a couple problems that are going on. So Thandeka has already called to like offer help, which
Yeah.
as we talked about earlier, Stellan was like, nope. We're here to help you, not you help us. You're having water issues. You can't take any of our
Yeah,
medical
no.
people.
And they're
and-
like, so
There's another problem. The fact that you're sinking, we might have to shoot. We might have to destroy the thing that's falling on our cities.
yeah. So just so you know, we may have to like shoot you guys down. And
Which-
Stone's like, thanks for the heads up, basically.
Yeah, because
Do what
there's
you need
nothing
to
else
do.
to do. Like, there's no way to save that top half.
Yeah.
Although, unfortunately, that means we also lose the second in command of the space station, Astala.
Yeah.
Also, at this point,
Avar Chris is on the top.
Avar Chris's
And-
ship has come back, which, of course, Stellan is already, like, internally monologuing arguments with her of, like, you shouldn't have gone off. You shouldn't have... I know you had a good lead on...
They have one conversation, and it's basically that.
Yeah. It's like, I know you had a good lead on where the eye was, but, like...
You abandoned your post.
And he's like...
So that's why.
And
I've
she's
been
like...
charged.
And Avar comes back at him really... Honestly, with a great comeback that she's like, oh, no, this wasn't some wild goose chase. I found who we think it anyways. Obviously, we as the readers know it's not the eye.
Yeah.
But they're like, we got the eye. We captured her.
They're like, we did it.
Yeah.
It's ours.
This was a successful mission. What do you mean you took over my post? And so, yeah. Which I'd argue Avar kind of right.
Hmm.
I'm kind of on Avar's side of the argument.
I don't know what she went through to get that.
Well, yeah, because also in the comics they go more over that. But even without that, I would argue like their job as being in the Outer Rim is to help Outer Rim systems. And if the lead of the station isn't willing to go off and do stuff, and it's not like she left them without a leader. Astala was still on the space station. He's the second in command. When the captain leaves, your second in command takes charge, and it's up to them to keep.
And there is.
But yeah.
They get separated. They're on
Yeah,
the
they
top
get
half.
separated because her ship is in the top half. But as far as we know, maybe they're okay. Like, because
Yeah.
obviously Elzar, who's in love with her, is like, man, she better not be dead.
Like, Elzar even reprimands himself for that. He's like, how dare I fucking care about the life of one person?
Yeah,
over all
yeah.
the
He
others."
immediately regrets that. He's like, that's my connection. That's my,
He's like, there.
That's
God
my-
damn it, I did it again.
that's my attachments. And he immediately is like, okay, I need to worry about the people that are in danger.
Yep.
And so everybody starts coming up with plans, including before they can fully get plans, people in the hangar are in a
Yeah.
panic.
And so, Coley Lynn
Of course, loves to.
makes a problem because that's what Coley Lynn does. So,
So this is before the big problem that he does, which really shows what a dick he is later. But like he immediately starts talking to some of the others, and they're like, "Yeah, let's just like cause trouble." He shoots
Yep.
a gun, and like
because of how
Ventians apparently work, Geode's race, they can basically become what's the term that they use in the book?
I think it's non-magnetic.
Magnetic. They can become like the magnetic shielding.
Yeah.
So basically, and the hangar is already filled with magnetic shielding, which Coley's like trying to basically brute force the hangar door open with a pistol. Not his
Well,
brightest
I
moment.
think he's supposed to. It's that old. I'm gonna shoot my gun in the air to get the crowd to stop being rowdy.
Oh yeah.
The problem is,
The hangar is
the hangar's
magnetically sealed.
so it just bounces around.
And then of course Geode is also magnetically sealed by holding his breath essentially.
Basically, he can choose whether or not
Yeah.
he wants to.
And
so
like
he just takes the shot.
yeah, he manages to block it from hitting I think Pico was about to be shot.
Yeah.
And so he saves her. Which, of course, the question that always occurs: how the fuck did he get there? how did Geode get there? That's always a question that comes up. He walked. Apparently, we just never see it.
Yep. Okay.
So yeah, finally the Jedi, Elzar and Stellan and all the other Jedi are like, look, you need to cool it. We got a plan. We're gonna start figuring out. Everybody needs to start worrying about getting their ships fixed, and if not, need to start considering who's going to ride with who.
Yeah.
And we also need to figure, and then, like, of course, some of the questions come up from the agents. Okay, well, what if people feel like the ship is their home or their family?
And they're like, we're not
gonna take you away. We're not gonna force you to ride with somebody else, but just know you might not make it out if you do that.
Yeah.
So.
And it's like, all right.
So now everybody starts deciding, okay, what are we gonna do? And the Jedi are coming up with plans. Like, they come up with like 5 different plans of like what to do. One of the plans is basically to somehow get outside where the radiation is, and basically force the power back on, like give it a off and back on sort of thing.
Yeah. They go and they like look for radiation suits, and they're like, where did all of them go?
Yeah, because they realize, well, we're missing half of them because the top half's gone, and the bottom half they're gone. They're missing.
Yeah. And they're like, are there any like species that are like resistant or immune to radiation?
And they're like,
yeah,
there was one.
There was one. And they're like, okay, cool, where are they?
Top half.
Like, on the top half of the station.
Which has, by this point, been shot.
Yeah. And they're like, fuck. Back to the drawing board.
So, yeah. And during this time, JJ5145 has come up with the ideal plan of moving, like, Stellan's, like, work office to, like, a different room. So, and actually did a really good job at doing it. Like, Stellan is actually impressed and like, oh, you actually moved all this stuff and it works out perfectly. Cool. Like, you actually made it feel roomy in here, even though there wasn't a lot of room.
There's also a weird thing where they put together, in order to get communication properly.
Okay, yeah, I was about to get there. So,
a bunch of, like, they basically stitch together a bunch of astromech.
Yeah, they're basically like, okay, astromech droids, we're going to do communications by, in order to get every word out to everybody, since we can't communicate throughout the ship, we're going to send a bunch of astromechs out, and we're going to use JJ to communicate with one of the astromechs, who will then communicate with the rest of them.
Yeah. They basically make a satellite network out of astromech droids.
Yeah, which unfortunately does not make it to where Bell and Buryaga are, because in the medical wing, they are trapped.
Yeah, they're like...
Because the doors have shut and magnetically sealed.
Mm-hmm. They're like, well, shit.
Yeah, so they have to figure out a way out, which eventually they do.
They do eventually. I think they're like, well, I guess there's this maintenance shaft we could take.
Yeah. Which, of course, Bell is hesitant to leave, but he's like,
if I don't, things will just get
worse. If I don't, then Ember and my master will definitely die.
So he's like, all right, Ember, stay here and guard.
Yeah, guard my body. Yeah. Which Ember does. Ember's the bestest girl ever.
Yep.
And
Chansey and Nan are continuing to go through different like escape methods, and they're like, this is bullshit.
So actually, so before we go back to them though, because they run into somebody, but before they can run into them, so Affy actually it's Leox who discovers this. Leox discovers, hey, the communications are only not working on the station.
So we could, if we wanted to.
Because basically what the Nihil did is they set it up to look like the ships couldn't communicate externally because they were trapped inside the station. But in reality, that's not actually the case. It turns out that it's just a false signal.
And he's like, God, it's basically like, God damn it, I was paying my phone bill the entire time.
Yeah, which a lot of the Nihil tricks come up to that, essentially, of being like, we're going to make it look like things aren't working, but they're actually working, but nobody's going to try it because they think it's not working.
And so Leox and the rest of them are like, why the fuck didn't we do this earlier?
So yeah, so Leox immediately calls for help, which of course, he's like, hey, Starlight Beacon is damaged and in trouble, and immediately the people that he called the planet of Irem security, and security was like, that's some bull.
They're like, oh, that's a good one, man. And he's like, no,
really.
No, really.
And they're like, and he tells Affy, hey, go get that Jedi. I don't know his name. Go get him.
And so
they get Stellan. And Stellan basically turns their ship into a communication like his communication base. Which he feels bad about. He's like, I don't like having
I wish I didn't have to do this, but
it's our only choice.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like they start Elzar and them are kind of coming up with plans of like how to get everything back
Yeah.
up. And Affy, of course, is part of this group that's like they decide to go throughout the ship and kind of find some solutions. Affy runs into Nan, and
And
Affy
they're like, it's like a Pokemon trainer battle. They make eye contact and they're immediately like, as a matter of fact,
yeah.
fuck you,
Yeah.
we're fighting right here, right
Yeah,
now.
Chansey has no idea what's going
Like,
on. Meanwhile, Nan
and
and Affy are just
are-
going at it.
like, I think they're like trying to beat the shit out of each
Yeah,
other.
'cause it
with
starts with-
pipes.
Because basically the fight starts because Affy notices Nan first, while Nan and Chansey are looking at the escape pods,
Yeah.
and Affy trips Nan with a pipe, and then Nan's like, "Oh, it's you, Addie." One of the best running jokes throughout this book.
And she will
Never gets Affy's name right.
Oh, it reminds me of someone else I know.
Oh, your brother.
Yeah, he never fucking gets names.
But yeah, she's like,
Oh.
"It's you, Addie," and Affy doesn't correct her. That's what makes this
After
great.
he's like, I'm too
angry to get to correct you.
care.
Like, I hate you because of what you did on the Amaxine station.
Yeah. And so they start their fight, and Chansey's over here, like, basically trying to work around these two
Yeah, because she's trying to
Teenage
get the
girls
escape pod going,
having.
and she's like, "I don't get why you're fighting. We should all just be working together to get off of here. You could get off here. You could get off here. We could get off here alive." And of course, Affy's like, "Nope, I'm not doing it because I'm not leaving my crew."
Yeah. And Nan's like, okay.
Good for you. Bye.
Yeah.
Nan's like, "I don't care if you get off here. Bye."
I think they just leave.
And they go their separate ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and of course, because Chansey and Nan, I'm calling it Nancy now. That's their group name, Nancy. Nancy basically figures out, no, the escape pods won't work. We're gonna go to the hangar.
We need a different plan.
So they decide they're gonna go to the hangar, which Nan is not excited about.
Yeah.
Because Nan's like, we're gonna get seen by the Jedi who arrested us a lot more easily if we. And Chansey's like, they got
Chansey's
way
like-
bigger issues.
Chansey is like, we are falling towards the planet. I think they can fucking get over it.
Yeah, they got way bigger issues.
But when they get there, they meet the scumbag himself.
Yeah. Oh well, before all that, so Elzar has come up with a plan.
Yeah. He's like, oh, well,
If we can't fly the ships out to fix, because basically the plan that they've come up with is we're gonna get the thrusters online.
yes.
Because if we get the thrusters online, that will at least slow.
They'll buy us time.
That'll buy
basically.
us time. It will slow our descent and allow us to at least get help.
Yeah.
Because hopefully by the time that we get the thrusters online, help will be halfway here.
Mm.
Because at this point, Lena So also knows what's going on and has
Yeah.
basically sent in like
As many
ships as she can to basically
and those that freely come
yeah.
of their own will.
And so basically the plan is, well, if we can't get we can't use and the problem is the thruster systems are in where the radiation is.
Mhm.
So we can't get outside of the ship to go work around to fix it because we have no radiation suits.
Yeah.
We can't send ships outside because the hangar doors are shut.
But the good news
is we could fly a
since
ship.
the top half of the Starlight Beacon is missing, we have enough power to, if we're able to get down there somehow, slow.
Yeah. And so they're trying to figure out workarounds, and we'll come
Yeah.
back to one of the solutions that's presented later. In the meantime, everybody's kind of split into factions in the hangar. We got
Yeah.
people that are trying to fix things, and then you got Coley Lynn's group,
Yeah. Who
who meets Nan, and he sees Nan and Chansey, which Nan is like trying to sneak at first on the outer edges of the hangar, and Chansey's like,
the fuck are you doing?
"What are you doing? The Jedi are gonna think it's more like you're gonna be more suspicious sneaking around than you are if you just walk around."
And Coley Lynn's like, have I got a deal for you?
Yeah, I've already made one deal today,
Yep.
and it totally worked out. I'm going to make another deal. And so basically he comes up with a plan along with these other guys that they're going to basically take the hangar, and he's basically going to he's found some explosives.
Yeah, he's
And
like,
they're gonna
we're just
blast-
gonna blast
yeah.
through the doors.
Yeah, it's like, so anyways, I started blasting.
Mhm.
So that's the plan, is they're just going to blast the hangar open,
That's their plan.
which, of course, the immediate problem is, won't that
Isn't
send
it gonna-
everybody to space?
Yeah. And he's like, that's not my problem.
I mean, also we're gonna give them advance warning.
Yeah.
They'll have the opportunity to leave, and if they don't, that's on them. So yeah, and that kind of erupts into a big issue. So eventually, Elzar finally comes up with the plan and he goes, "Hey, I have a plan of how we can get to where the thrusters are." The ship is actually, the space station is actually able to like rearrange itself on the inside, so that way
So,
like
They're
it's,
like, that was one of the systems the
That's a s-
Nile left alone because
Yeah.
they were like,
it's
why the
useless.
fuck would anybody bother with this?
Yeah, and the reason that they even have this in place is because, like, if they ever dock and need repairs, if
Yeah.
everybody's off the ship, then they can rearrange everything, and basically you
Just
can go,
repair the
you
section
can
that
just
needs to
repair
be
whatever
worked
section
on.
you need to. Yeah, and it's basically for massive repairs. And at first, Stellan is like, "That's a terrible plan. What if the
And once again,
because like he's like things are gonna break, and then
and
immediately
once again, the response is, one, we can't make it that much worse, and two, do you have a better idea?
also like we don't really care about
They're
things
like-
at this point. It's more
They're
about
like,
the people.
structural damage doesn't mean
Yeah,
shit
Stellan
anymore.
immediately changes his mind and realizes,
It's
yeah,
like, no, you got a point.
and so he's like, "All right, go try it." And so
Uh.
meanwhile, Bell has come up with a plan for himself. Well, did we lose Buryaga yet?
Have the Rathars been freed yet? Like that?
No. Oh, so
No,
earlier,
it's
earlier,
as they're going to rearrange
yeah.
it.
So earlier, Orla and them had checked on these ships but found nothing.
Yeah.
And so, because like we said, they were like, "Oh, Rathtars on ships, that's weird," and so during these split groups when they're all
Yeah.
like kind of split, so Bell and Buryaga have made it to the hangar at this point.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, we should go check out this weird situation of like Rathtars because that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Maybe it has something to do with this weird
Yeah.
thing in the Force we've
On
been
the
feeling.
first one, they're just like, man, there's
There's
shit
nothing in here. Yeah.
Second
And
one,
so the second one though, and and like we said, when they mentioned the Rathtars, Bell is kind of like, "I think that's weird. That sounds weird that two ships would have Rathtars on them," and like when he mentions it out loud, the agents are like, "Yeah, that's dumb.
they're like, that's incredibly stupid.
Like, who would be shipping Rathtars?"
And so they
Han
go-
Solo.
So they go and they check, and they're like, oh fuck.
Yeah,
they
the second
actually
one
are.
actually had Rathtars, and they let them loose.
And they become
They become an
another
immediate problem.
fucking problem.
So Bell goes in to strike it immediately with he's gonna chop it, and Buryaga blocks it and is like, no. I know that. So basically, Buryaga's like, "That's a bad idea because as far as I
You
can
have
tell,
to stab,
you have to
not cut.
as far as I can tell, you have to stab because Rathtars they
work like slimes.
when they breed by
Like when
splitting.
you cut them in half, there are now two of them.
Yeah.
Mitosis. That's
Yeah,
how they work.
mitosis. Basically, they breed through mitosis, and Buryaga isn't sure that cutting them would make it worse, but he's like, "I ain't gonna.
Let's not take that chance.
I ain't gonna risk that." So yeah. So
And I think Elzar is also
Elzar's down there
that
at this point.
And so they go and they do manage to get like
4 out of the 6. And
unfortunately,
so they start chasing Elzar and Buryaga, who are running, and Elzar's like, "I'm going up a ladder, so I'll be fine." They can climb.
Yep.
They can
they
climb.
can
And so eventually, Elzar kills at least. I think he kills one more of them.
yeah. So it's 5 out.
Because
of
what
6.
what he does is he ends up cutting he initially cuts their limbs first because they're using like their little tentacles to grab food and then eat it. And Elzar believes that he sees Buryaga get eaten
Yeah.
before a
is
door and like a
unclear-
door shuts.
It is unclear the fate of Buryaga.
Yes. And so he tells
They have
Bell this, and
rearranged the
Bell
ship at
yeah,
this
they have
point.
rearranged the ship at this point. That's why like he gets cut off from
Yep.
Buryaga.
He tells Bell this, and he's like, your friend's probably dead. And Bell is like, don't you ever fucking say that to me again. I will beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, because Bell's like,
Not in a nicer way, but
Yeah.
that's the general con.
Because, like, Bell is done with losing people.
He's like, that will be the third person close to me that I've lost within, like, a month.
Yeah, because they mentioned that, like, they mentioned Into the Dark was only, like, a month ago.
Yeah, it's like a month or two, not...
Yeah, and since Into the Dark and Light of the Jedi take, like, place in the... Like, honestly, it was less than a month when he saw Loden die, because the second book takes place even closer to when Into the Dark did.
He's just going through
So,
the
like,
ringer.
a few weeks.
Yeah. So... and he's like... But Bell is stuck in, like, the medical...
Yeah, well, no, so he gets restuck in the medical wing because of the rearrangements.
And he's like...
And he's like, I got a plan. I can blow this.
He's like...
I can
He's
set off a
talking
bomb.
to Ember.
Yeah, because who
and
else is he going to talk to?
He's like... So... I'm gonna make a bomb, is essentially what he's like.
And Ember's like, I don't know about...
Because the, like, Iram has sent, like, a medical freighter over there.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, if I
can get the
everybody
medical
there-
wing detached from the rest of the station, then I can at least get the people that are in the medical wing the attention they need.
Yeah.
And so he's like, he's like, I did the math, and
We have a good chance
We have a
of
good
this working.
yeah, like he has the bomb already ready, and Ember sniffs it, and of course Ember's like, that's bad, because bomb.
Yeah.
Like
and
Ember
he's-
doesn't realize like the difference between a good bomb and a bad bomb, just
Yeah.
bomb.
She's like, that thing explodes.
And he's like, yeah, but don't worry, I've done the calculations. And so they step back, and on a light note, something actually works.
Yeah. Yay.
So he managed to detach the medical wing, and managed to get help for them. Which immediately, once he gets onto the medical frigate that Iram sent, he's immediately like, all right, I'm gonna go back and get some help, go help them. And they're like, no. You need to, and he's like on a call with Stellan.
Yeah.
And Stellan's like, no, you're fine. You saved yourself. You saved a bunch of lives. You're good.
Stay.
You're good. You rest.
He's like, you did good, kid. And Bella's like, nah, man, I got more to do.
And he's like, nope, you're good. We did forget about somebody's death. Nibasik, Buryaga's master.
Oh, yeah.
Because Buryaga was upset about that.
Yeah. I think she also got.
Yeah, she got tusked.
Yep,
yeah.
she got husked.
And this is after forcing Stellan to rest. Because
Yeah.
Stellan, like we said, he's been through the ringer, so they
Yep.
force him to sleep at one point. Because he's like, yeah.
So, there
And
are now...
like Elzar, that's when Elzar comes up with his plan.
Yeah.
Because he's like, well, Stellan's not here. I guess I'm in charge.
And JJ is kind of... Elzar's like, I fucking wish I never got this damn droid.
Yeah, because JJ's trying to help, but JJ as a droid is just so the way it's described by the book,
He sounds very happy
yeah,
all
like
the time.
even when he's giving bad news, he's
Yeah.
like very happy. And so like Elzar's like, man, I wish I didn't give this to Stellan. He was like, it was a great joke, but
fucking Christ. And JJ actually is right. He's like, sometimes repeating a method proves successful, and that's how he figures out the plan of like rearranging the station.
yeah,
And so Elzar eventually is like, okay, I can now go and do some stuff.
my plan, yeah.
My plan.
And so at this point, that's when Coley decides to set his plan off.
Yeah.
Coley's like, all right, time to cause some havoc. So him and his crew start like immediately like they basically don't shoot, but they capture everybody that's on the like. They're like, he's like, I got a bomb. I'm ready to blow it up. And he like takes a kid hostage.
Yeah.
This is the point where I'm just like, okay,
All right.
Coley is
now
officially
you've gone
evil.
from asshole to legitimately evil.
Like, and like he's pointing the gun at the kid's head.
Yeah.
And it's even worse in the audiobook because the audiobook adds the like kid crying sound, and it's like, Coley, you
suck, man.
And so like Elzar comes in and tries to cool the situation down,
I think Elzar just kills Lynn and moves on.
but like they try to at first,
Yeah.
but like they're just like, yeah, we can't, like, this is not great, because And Coley's like, look, I'm not gonna kill you, like, because obviously, like Pika and them are like, what the fuck are you thinking? If you set the bomb off, it's gonna kill everybody. He's like, no. Like we said earlier, the plan is that we'll warn you now. This is us warning you, and then we'll set it off. And so, once again, though, it seems that Coley has underestimated the power of Geode.
Yeah.
And Geode comes up behind him and knocks him out. After Coley once again tries to shoot at Geode, forgetting that he's magnetically sealed.
Oh yeah, and the bolt just goes right back.
Yep.
And Coley Lynn is dead and will no longer be a problem.
Thank the Force.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I was done with Coley at that point.
Like, very rarely do I ever have the reaction of, God, I hope you went to hell, but...
Which Star Wars does have a hell equivalent,
yeah,
so...
I'm like, I hope you went there.
All right.
Strangely enough, as angry as no, not angry. As much as I disapprove of what the Nihil were doing, Coley Lynn's worse.
Coley is worse. So we're kind of on the same page. I blame Coley for letting the Nihil get away with so much, because, like, that initial bomb would not have happened if Coley had been, like...
I think it would have.
He wouldn't have,
anyway.
but he would have told the Jedi. They would at least have been looking for the right people.
I don't see the way I had viewed it up to basically that point was like, he's just an asshole.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. All right. So at this point, they come up with.
Oh.
They do eventually. So ironically enough, Leox is kind of like, you know what? Even though Coley died, he had a good plan.
Yeah, it was actually not that bad a plan.
He's like, yeah, we could just blow a hole in the hangar and get everybody out, as long as we warn everybody.
Yeah. Actually, a brief side note.
Yeah.
As Elzar was sort of going down, Stellan had also sort of like gotten up. He had an encounter with the creature.
Oh, yeah, Stellan had an encounter with the...
And he almost got, but he was like, nope. He basically hit a door and ran.
Yeah, because Stellan was... Yep, and ran into the leveler.
Yeah. And
which I jokingly call it the Star Wars basilisk that only goes after Force sensitives. It basically does the same thing as a basilisk, except only Force sensitives. It finds them, turns them into husks. Apparently, it drains their Force, like it feeds on it, and that's why they,
But he is able... He's like one of the few ones, aside from Indira, I think.
Yeah, and who survives it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elzar thankfully never runs into it.
Yeah. No, Elzar runs into it, but he's in like one of the maintenance.
Oh, yeah.
So where he's like...
He doesn't get close enough to it to where it's an issue, but like he senses it.
Yeah, he's... This is
and
like
still
right after he's just sort of started to reopen to the Force, and he's like, oh, thank God I wasn't.
Thank God my Force was cut off for so long, because this would have been annoying.
He's like... Because if it's been doing stuff like that to everybody else...
He realizes why Stellan is so, like, why he looks the way he does. Like, the book makes it clear to us that a lot of people notice how bad he looks. Like, even Coley Lynn at one point's like, man, he looks really pale and, like...
He's like, I didn't think he had that much left in him. I mean, he looks like a skeleton.
Yeah, they make a really concerted... The book makes a really concerted effort to let us know how bad of shape he's in.
And so... Elzar slides past, and Stellan eventually.
And so eventually Elzar has, on his, while he's doing his journey, he kind of takes the time to commune through the Force, because he's like, I need to regroup. And he reaches out, and he actually makes contact with Avar, confirming she's alive.
Yep.
Because Avar... So one of Avar's things is that she's really good at, like, she has a really good hold of the Force, and she calls it her song.
Yeah.
It's something referenced in the book. And they, basically, she can tell individuals based on their specific Force, and so everybody has a song, and so she's able to do that.
Yeah.
And so Of course, this makes Elzar very happy as the hopeless romantic that he is.
Yeah, he's like,
But then he immediately goes, "Wait a minute, nope.
nope,
I need
can't.
to can't get caught up in it. I need to keep focus."
Yeah.
And so he continues to focus, and he actually reaches out to Stellan the same way.
And he's like, that's apparently something he hasn't done in a long time.
Yeah,
And he's like, oh, my friend is there. There he is.
yeah, his pole star is
Yeah.
what he calls it. So his pole star, and then his, because basically he's kind of like like the North Star essentially is what that's supposed to be, like my guiding point. And so Stellan is kind of his guiding point, and it's been a while since Stellan's been his guiding point.
Yeah.
And so like it's kind of why their friendship has kind of devolved to where
Yeah.
like where it is right now, where it's not
Like, it doesn't
great.
seem antagonistic, but it's more like they've drifted apart over the years.
And this is kind of the first moment since it's drifted that they kind of are like, oh, our friendship is still very
It's
strong.
still there.
And so, yeah, a little bit of a bright
yeah.
spot in Elzar's life. So, Elzar, where are we at? Okay. Oh, so the hangar crew,
Yep.
they agree. Leox reveals to...
He's like,
he reveals
"By the
in the
way."
best way to Affy. He's like, hey, I got a thermal detonator. And Affy's like, where'd you get that? He's
She's
like,
like,
oh, it's been
"I-
on the vessel.
He's like, in my house, basically.
Yeah, it's been in the vessel,
He's
which
just
is my
like-
house. And Affy's like, wait, I've been filling out all these papers telling them that we aren't carrying thermal detonators because, like, I guess when you fill out paperwork when you go to planet, you have to say what
I guess it's
weaponry
like,
you've got, which is
yeah.
important. Like, it's kind of like you don't want somebody carrying,
Yeah.
you don't want somebody carrying C4 through an airport.
Yeah. And this is the equivalent. This is very much the equivalent of C4.
Yeah, thermal detonators are like the strongest type of
Yeah.
detonator.
Like handheld.
Handheld,
so-
yeah. So
And she's like, when did you get that? How
he's
long
like,
have you had it?
well, I've had it even before you've been on the vessel.
like, and I never told your mom about it either.
Because
because
I mean, she would have used it for evil.
Yeah. And so he's also got like a backpack or something.
Yeah, he's got a backpack on at this point, which is relevant later. So he's like, all right, we're going to blow it up, and then we're going to let all the ships out. And so they basically do that.
Yeah.
So
Don't worry, he's got a breath mask. It's fine.
yeah, he's got a
not
breath
gonna
mask.
Die.
Yeah, so he's got a breath. Well, by the time he opens it, it's fine anyways, because they're already like basically
in
far enough down the
Atmosphere.
atmosphere that it's breathable.
Yeah.
So and like Leox takes a moment to be like, man, this is kind of beautiful. If
He's
it wasn't for the fact we were falling,
He's like, yeah, this is nice.
and so everybody
Sure
starts
hope
to
I don't fuck this up, because that's basically like,
yeah.
man, okay, if this works, I'm a genius. If this doesn't, I am horrendously fucked.
And so Joss and Pika are on the vessel
Mhm.
because basically,
Their
so
ship-
throughout the book, Affy is like trying to figure out like whether or not to go on an escape pod back when they
Yeah.
thought escape pods were optional, and like she was like, I don't want to do that because I don't want to leave Geode and Leox.
yeah, and Geode won't fit.
And yeah, Geode won't fit in one because he's a slab of rock,
Yeah.
and so. And Leox, but she also knows that Leox and Geode will tell her to go by herself.
Yeah.
If she were to ever talk to them about it. And she has a conversation with Pika about this, and Pika's like, look, I've made some bad decisions in my life when it comes to, like, she's like, me and my husband, we used to work on other ships with people, and I made some really bad decisions when it came to whether or not to leave a
Yeah.
ship or not. Like, because
She's like, it's,
ships are homes.
it's replaceable.
And she's like, ships are replaceable, people are not.
go.
And so, because of this discussion, that's why Pika and
Yeah.
Joss are like, our ship's not fixed yet. We're just going to ride the vessel with you guys.
Yeah, they're like,
So, everybody's in.
They're like, oh yeah, by the way, we took out an insurance policy
Yeah,
on our
yeah.
ship.
So, like, everybody's all is safe at this point on
Yeah.
a ship. Elzar is making his way through because at this point he's found a suit. And
Yeah.
he's like traveling through the radiated area trying to get the thrusters back.
Yeah.
And so are Nan and
Chance.
Chansey are also down there. I was about to say Haig, but I was like, no, Haig is like in my mind. I was like, Haig is already dead.
They're like,
Haig died in the last book we read. And so let's kind of stick with the radiation stuff. What's going on down there? So Nan and Chansey run into those Nihil.
they're like, hey, how are y'all doing?
Yeah,
They're
like what are you doing down
they're
here?
like, they're basically like
both
getting
of them
drunk
ask each
and
other.
having a party down there.
Yeah, like both sides are kind of like, "What are you doing down here?" And the three Nihil saboteurs are like, "Well, we're here just kind of, celebrating the victory, and we're also making sure nobody messes with this, and they're
Yeah.
pointing it right at the thrusters. They're like, "Because this is kind of the last hope."
Yeah, and they're like, and Nan and Chansey are like, so about that.
So about that, we want to live. So
they're like- and a fight happens.
a fight happens, and so Nan kills
Nan kills two of them.
two of them. She kills the Utapauan,
Yeah.
Kale, and
And-
Lael.
I think Chansey gets the other one.
Yeah, Chansey gets where however you pronounce her name, the W
Wahira?
Wahira.
And so Chansey's like, okay, yeah, this isn't gonna be that difficult for me.
Yeah,
to
because she's
clear."
like I
she's like, I made a gravitational weapon. I can fucking
yeah, because we knew so the Nihil saboteurs were like, oh, this person's pretty smart with
Yeah.
mechanical stuff. They didn't realize how smart because she works for like a big company and like has invented stuff, and so yeah, she knows her way around
she
stuff.
knows what she's doing.
So yeah, she decides to start working on the thrusters. We'll come back to them.
Yep.
So Leox
Leox-
sets off at the bomb,
Leox is like, this is a brilliant plan, and
and
he's
he
gone.
flies out the and that
This
that was when I was listening to the audiobook,
Yeah.
and so Affy is just watching as her mentor and almost a father figure or older brother
yeah.
goes flying out into the atmosphere to
Oh,
to
God.
fall to his death, and actually we're kind of out of order of events, but it doesn't matter. We'll come back to the Elzar because I know that we'll come back to the Elzar of it all because I just remembered based on my text messages that the Elzar thing happens first. But I texted him and I was like, he said just finished reading the book at 8, and then I said if I told him where I was with the Elzar of it all, and then 9 minutes after that I go, they killed Leox. What the fuck? And I actually yelled that while in my car. I was like, what the fuck, Claudia Gray? You killed Leox.
So I had a few hours earlier.
Finished the book.
Normally, I don't. Normally, stories don't get me in the feels to where it elicits a physical response.
Leox, did that get you?
That got me. Miss
Claudia Gray.
Miss Claudia Gray. Don't ever do that again.
I love your writing, and I love every Star Wars book you've done, but please don't hurt me like that ever again, especially because we'll come back to it. So yeah, your response was great. It was, yep, sometimes the gun gets jumped pretty harp. I think you meant to say hard.
I meant to say hard.
Yeah, sometimes the gun gets jumped pretty hard.
Oh.
And so, yeah.
Oh.
So yeah. Leox is falling to the ground as far as we know.
As
so
far as
yeah.
we know, he burned up on re-entry.
Okay, let's jump back to the Elzar of it all.
So
Elzar has snuck is he comes upon the thrusters area and he sees Nan, who he recognizes as a Nihil.
That's a Nihil, and he sees Chansey. He
sees
doesn't know much
Chansey
about
and
Chansey.
sees Chansey,
but he does see
messing with the thrusters.
Bodies around.
Yeah, dead bodies.
And he's like, I'm fucking done.
He's like,
playing games.
He's like, I'm done with the Nihil. They've killed way too many people, and they're trying to mess with the thrusters.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I assume what he's thinking is
he thinks that
the
they're
reason
sabotaging
why the
it.
original Nihil were down here. That's what he's thinking.
Yeah.
So he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna kill that one.
Yeah. So he ignites his lightsaber, and the way the book describes it, just immediately cuts her in half. No questions. Just goes in and goes whoop, right down the middle.
And Nan is like, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, well,
You've doomed us all.
And I have a text for that as well, because that was when I texted you that I hadn't finished yet, and I said just got to where Elzar killed Chansey. Holy shit!
Yeah. So
and because I had to double back Because I was like, wait a minute, I rewound it. I rewound it to make sure I heard correctly, like what just happened before I texted you. I was like, there's no way he just killed Chansey. And then I rewound it. I listened, and I was like, nope, that was Chansey.
Nope, he just went for it. And Nan is like,
you literally just, she was fixing the thrusters. You just killed our only chance of living.
and so Nan is like, I guess I could go back to the docking bay and just say, hope for the best.
Yeah, they all.
That's basically her plan.
And Elzar is like, oh my god, poor Elzar.
He's like,
he immediately regrets it as soon as he figured out the information. He was like, he went from angry to like remorseful, like
oh
that.
no, what have I done?
Ah.
And
yeah, Elzar's got problems with the dark side.
It's hard to blame him though. Like when initially presented with information like that,
Yeah.
in the situation,
Like in the
like that.
situation that he was in,
If he had got there like maybe 10 minutes earlier, he would have been
He would have had the full
absolutely
info.
right.
I think the problem is he didn't bother to ask, like what was going like, but because he knew who Nan was, I think he figured,
Yeah.
But he should have. He even realized though after the fact, he was like, oh yeah, you were no longer with the Nihil.
Yeah.
And so he immediately goes like, so Nan and Stellan make it up to the hangar area, or Elzar make it up to the hangar area where Stellan is, and they.
Stellan looks even worse.
Yeah, and Elzar is like crying to him, like, "Oh my god, I killed us all."
And Stellan basically just tells him to get on a ship.
Yeah, he's like, "No, just get on a ship. You'll be fine. You and Nan go."
Yeah.
And so Nan actually takes Coley Lynn's ship, which is great.
I forget which one Elzar goes to.
I can't remember either.
Yeah.
He found a ship.
He had to find a ship.
Anyway, maybe we jumped it and he was on the vessel, but I think he was on the vessel.
That would make sense.
So yeah. So
and so Stellan's like,
I'm gonna die with the ship.
Basically.
He's like, I'm the captain. I will die with this ship. And he sends JJ. He's like, JJ, you live.
Like, JJ actually is like, I could probably do it. And he kind of looks over at JJ's arms, and JJ's not built for that.
Yeah. He's like,
that's literally it.
Yeah. And he's like,
he's literally not built.
He's also like, I also need you to give Elzar a message. So, like, you need to live.
Yeah.
And he gives, well, we'll reveal what he gives JJ, but he gives JJ something to give to Elzar.
Yeah. And so, for the first time in, I think, quite a while, the entirety of the book, Stellan's like, oh, thank God. I know who I am.
Yeah, he finally finds himself, and he's like, you know what? I'm at peace.
This is the best time for this to happen for him, basically.
He's like, I finally found peace. I finally understand who I am. And I'm going to die for what I believe in.
Yep.
Because throughout the book, he's kind of... he's
struggling.
spouting out like how hope is still very important to have, even in all of this like terrible situation.
Yeah.
Oh, we should point out that Markion at this point has been like watching it from.
Oh yeah,
because a bunch of ships at this point are watching
to
Starlight
like try
fall.
and help.
Either to try to help or to just watch as this train wreck goes off.
Mhm.
And Markion is like just witnessing it. He's like, "Man, this is glorious. My plan is working."
He's like, "Yes."
So the vessel makes it to the ground.
Yep.
And we learn after Claudia put me through so much pain, and you.
By the way, second time I cried.
Leox is alive.
Yeah.
It turns out the bag on his back is an old-fashioned parachute.
This man literally was like, I don't know where he learned how to do an actual Halo jump, but that's what he fucking did.
So I guess parachutes exist?
I guess so.
But yeah. So yeah, because they make it clear that he didn't set the parachute off immediately. Like he had to He had to make it look like he was dying and then set off the parachute and scare us all.
Fucker.
Affy, of course, is very happy.
Yeah.
As are we. And so the Vessel family is reunited.
Yeah.
The Adrians are fine, and then Elzar gets his own sort of reuniting.
Yeah.
Avar is alive.
And in this instance, he basically looks at the rule for attachment and fucking spikes it into the ground.
Yeah, because he immediately he yells her name, and he's like, and the book's like describes it as, and he doesn't care who hears him, because he like yells her name, and he's like runs to her like an old like almost like this old-fashioned movie where you see them run towards each other, and so like
the war is over.
Yeah, of course he very clearly like. Elzar very clearly does not tell her what he did. He does not tell her about the murder that he committed.
That may cause some problems.
That may cause some problems in the future, but we won't know because Phase 2 of books are going into the past.
Yep. So that happens. Bell is okay.
Yeah, Bell's fine.
Master Indira is
looking better.
Is probably going to recover.
Yeah. And also, Bell has made it his sworn, like, he tells Elzar, he's like, so, I'm not going to do what I did with my first master, where I gave up looking for him because everybody else told me to. Because last time I did that, I could have found him.
Elzar actually, is like, your friend's probably dead.
And he's like,
again,
no, you don't say that to me. I'm going to look for Buryaga, and I'm going to find him. And I hope he does.
Yeah.
Because that is the best friendship.
Yeah.
Like, the Elzar, Avar, and Stellan friendship is It's but that's because it's like grown distant, like we said.
Yeah.
The Buryaga and Bell friendship is the best friendship in the High Republic.
Another great fucking thing, and this is way earlier in the book.
Oh yeah.
Is Bell and Buryaga just having their like practice duel.
Oh yeah.
And where Bell's like old master is like, there are only two people who would ever dare to fight a Wookiee. One's too angry to care, and the other one is too dumb to live.
Yeah, because he loses to Buryaga, and they're like, it's okay, nobody wins against a Wookiee, you're fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so it's at this point that JJ comes up to Elzar, because Elzar and Avar are looking for Stellan. They're like, where's Stellan?
By the way, the city that they were worried about, Queen Thandeka, it's fine thanks to Stellan's heroic sacrifice.
Yeah, because
with thrusters and everything, they're able to like pull it out, and they're like, a lot of people are still going to die, but not as much as there were going
they basically
to be.
switched where it was going.
It went from like 100,000 to 10,000.
Yeah, basically it switched where he was going to crash.
Yeah,
and so so Stellan's dead, and JJ reports this to Elzar, and
he's like,
he gives him Stellan's lightsaber.
Yeah,
because he's like, Stellan told me to give you this.
Also,
and this is basically when Elzar and Avar start crying because they realize, and because Avar looks for his song and is like, nope, can't find Stellan's song, and Stellan gave you his lightsaber, which Stellan would never give up unless he knew for sure, unless he was 100% sure he wasn't coming back. Yeah. So yeah.
What else? Oh yeah. And
so basically they just killed the most progressive Jedi Council member that ever existed.
Mm-hmm. And one last thing. Fucking March in Row.
Oh yeah, so at the very end, the finale, the final chapter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Marchion Row. He's like,
and publicly airs, he's like, by the way, the hyperspace disaster.
That was
the attacks on the Jedi Temple.
The Great Fair.
And the hyperspace.
Basically everything that's been going on.
He doesn't say it was us.
It was me.
It was me.
Yeah, because he basically he's like
I should say it's us.
But yeah, because basically he comes down to the decision of, well, you know what? It's been long enough of me hiding that I'm in charge, and like everybody thinking that the eye is Lorna D. It's time I come out of the shadows. It's time I scare everybody and let them know I'm in charge now. And basically, just broadcast to the entire galaxy going, yep, I was behind everything bad that happened. I'm the eye, not Lorna D. You guys fucked up.
And he's basically like, I've broken your Jedi. I've broken every symbol.
And as he's going through this list of everything terrible he's going through, he goes like, and I'm going to do more. And when he says that, our traitor senator has a gasp that comes out where she realizes, oh, this was a bad deal.
Yep.
And Markion's thinking to himself, you know, I think it's kind of good that gasp is there because I want people like almost like, it's almost like Space Reddit. He's like, I want Space Reddit to kind of like scan the sounds to figure out who that is. Because he kind of wants the galaxy to find out that Senator Staros is working for him. Because he's like, if they found out, it would be even better.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, I think this is also the conversation. He's like, I could kill her,
but it's better for me if I don't.
Yeah. And that's basically where it ends off.
Yeah, the book ends there after his speech. Like 5 people died. One potentially
more
dead.
than 5 people died.
Well, like but 5 main
named.
5 main characters dead. One that could be dead, but we don't know, Buryaga. One that's getting better, but we don't know what's going to happen, Indira. And like, and the next books. So that's kind of our like summary of the book. But let's talk about what's coming up. So we're in the final wave of Phase 1. The last 2 main books that are coming out are the young adult novel and the junior novel. Junior novel is technically out now if you have audiobook or or digital, but the physical book's not out yet. That's why we're not talking about it yet. And it's a prequel to this book. Like, it takes place a little bit before this book, the junior novel. And the young adult novel also takes place before this book. Yeah. So we're not getting any books that take place after this in Wave 3. Some of the comics, I think, are supposed to take place after, but I don't think they're going to fill in a lot of the questions we have.
We have to wait.
And we're going to have to wait because Phase 2, they announced, is 150 years before the events of this phase.
Oh, boy. You know...
So, like, they just left us in, like, a very dark but somewhat bright moment because, like, there is some hope. There's some. Like, not every, like, I think Elzar, I think all of our main characters are in better places emotionally.
That is, like, a through line.
Yeah, that's a through line in all these books that are even in the darker stuff.
Some awful, awful shit. And in the end are better for it. Or at the very least, different.
Yeah.
I think that's a sign of good writing.
Yeah. Elzar kind of has figured out where he is with the Force, although he still is struggling.
Yeah.
Obviously, because he murdered somebody.
Yep.
Let's not make light of... let's not, ignore that.
Yeah.
It was still murder. Even though he thought he was doing the right thing, it's murder.
Yeah.
Even if we don't like the character... as a person, even though they were doing shady stuff, they were trying to do the right thing, even if it was selfishly.
Yeah.
Bell is kind of in a better place where he's more confident. That's something that the book makes very clear that, like, because they make it clear, he's finally found his confidence.
Yeah. Bell's done.
Yeah, because, like, he didn't have confidence when we started this book. And Nan is kind of in a weird place. She's kind of in a better place, too, because she's like, I'm not going back to the Nihil.
Yeah, she's like, and even if I wanted to, I can't.
Yeah, because everybody that was part of that mission was supposed to be dead.
Yep.
So she kind of doesn't want to, though. She kind of wants to kind of go back to just being freelance. And I'd argue, yeah. So, like, and that's our main characters, Obviously, a lot of people died, so that's unfortunate. But, so let's talk about what we're going to read next.
All right.
Well, actually, let's get numbers, because we do numbers. So where would you put this? And I'm actually going to retroactively change my Into the Dark score. So Into the Dark was a 9. But because I want to scale these, like, favorites to least favorites, I'm going to make Into the Dark 8.5.
Oh.
Because this is a 9. This book is a 9. Obviously, you don't have all the context, but out of context, where would you put this?
You may not like what I am about
No, it's fine.
to
If you
say.
I understand you putting it lower because you don't have all these.
Might be a bit low.
That's fine.
6 out of 10.
Okay, it's still better than average.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I said, you're coming into this without as much of them. Yeah.
I don't have all the information.
That's fine.
I don't know if it was...
Does it work as an out-of-context book to you?
It does, since some stuff.
A lot of the stuff they kind of tell you. They're like, okay,
Yeah.
here's what you kind of miss, because they don't expect you to read everything. Because like if you want to read just the adult novels, you can.
Yeah.
If you want to read just the
don't-
junior novels, you can.
I feel like part of it is a little bit of my own fault because I was like, I gotta do this on Saturday. Better have it done by then.
Oh, so it felt like homework.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I do think they're. This is a brutal thing to say.
No,
but
go ahead.
I was going to say, I do feel like there were some characters who, while fun, were unnecessary
I'm curious.
to see them, like, killed off.
Oh, is it specifically who I think it is?
Mm.
Is it Regold?
They did do that man dirty.
They did do Regold dirty. I can't remember if he's appeared before or not off the top of my head, but yeah, they did him dirty.
Yeah. I was fine. I was fine with literally the rest of them because that helps move forward.
The plot, yeah.
Yeah.
I
guess Regal does help in the sense of like, well, now there's definitely a danger confirmed.
Yeah. All right. Well, now that we got our scores in and our little bit of final thoughts on that book, let's talk about what we're going to read next.
Oh boy.
So we finished this book. Now we're going to get into some comics, and this is where we've already discussed that you're probably going to hate me, because we are jumping ahead by a few hundred years.
Mm.
We're jumping to the War of the Bounty Hunters comic book event.
Mm-hmm.
So my reason is because the final volume for collecting all of the War of the Bounty Hunters event is officially out as of 2 days ago. I don't have a physical copy yet, and initially I was just gonna make us read just that volume. I was just gonna make you read the Bounty Hunters War of the Bounty Hunter story arc, but then I thought about it, and I realized just reading
context needed.
There would be so much context that wouldn't make sense. Like, you would just be reading parts of a big event.
Mm.
So I decided we're just gonna read the whole event.
Mm. Okay.
So, like, it's this plus an extra book. That's about the same length as
I
this.
assume.
So.
I assume I have to read all of that by next Saturday.
By next Saturday, yeah. Don't worry. I'm gonna send you it, and I'm gonna make sure that the comics are in order. Because if you read each volume individually, you'd still be getting out of context. And this is in order right now. I have it. So this is the main 5 issues.
Mm.
This one is the Vader section of the story.
All right.
The Dr. Aphra section. The main Star Wars section, because they have their mainline comic.
Yep.
So that's basically with Luke and all them.
All right.
The companion section, which has like 4 issues that are just one-shots. So it's what's Jabba doing during this? What's Zuckuss doing during this? And then the final section is the Bounty Hunter section, which is about Bounty Hunter Valence, who is like an old friend of Han. So the premise of this, I'll give you a little bit of a taste of what it's about. Premise is, this is just after Empire Strikes Back.
Yep.
It's like a few weeks. I'd give it here or there. And Boba Fett is taking his prize, or as one of my fellow hosts for another podcast, Scotty, likes to call it, his chocolate bar. He's taking the chocolate bar to Jabba.
Oh boy.
Unfortunately, the chocolate bar is melting.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, the chocolate bar is melting. It turns out that they kind of rushed the process of putting Han in carbonite.
Oh.
And the carbonite's melting, which is also melting Han. If they don't fix it quickly,
he's
got to fix it. So he has to make a pit stop to make sure that Jabba's chocolate bar doesn't get melted.
They gotta reglaze him.
Yeah. So he goes to get, and this is a little bit of like the first issue that I'm kind of spoiling, but it sets up the premise. Han brings it to a guy that he kind of trusts.
Han?
Sorry, Boba. Sorry, Han is stuck. Han has no say in what happens. Boba takes it to a guy he kind of trusts on Narshada. You know, because Narshada, that's where you trust people, right?
You talk to Narshada about me.
Yeah, Narshada is where you trust people, right?
No.
So he takes it to
Don't ever trust anybody on Narshada, ever.
So he takes it to this guy and he's like, "Hey, I need you to fix this." And the guy's like, "Narshada." Well, we also now call Korriban Moorband, but that's because George prefers it. Because Clone Wars.
Oh, boy.
Korriban is now Moorband.
Okay.
Yeah. But Narshada and Narshada. And so he takes it there and the guy's like, "Well, this is going to cost you a lot of money." And Bo was like, "I don't got no money yet, but I can get that money." So he does something, and we'll talk about that because that's part of the story. But he gets that money, and while he's getting that money, somebody kills the guy that was fixing Han, and takes the carbonite, the Han and carbonite. Somebody steals the chocolate bar, and Jabba finds out about his chocolate bar being stolen, and he thinks, and because somebody comes out and says, "Hey, we bought the chocolate bar off of Boba." And they said, and it's, I'm not going to say who because it's a great reveal. But basically they say, "We've got the chocolate bar and we're going to hold an auction for it." And Jabba finds out about this and says, "Oh, Boba sold my chocolate bar to somebody else?"
Wait.
He puts a bounty on Boba Fett. And that is the premise. Boba Fett has a bounty on his head, wants to get the chocolate bar back. And somebody else is putting Han up on auction to literally everybody. They send it out to the Hutts, the Pikes, the Empire, the Rebels.
They're like,
literally,
as long as you pay us, we don't care.
If you are an organization in the Star Wars universe, you have gotten an invite to this event.
Oh no, that's gonna be a clusterfuck.
Oh, yeah. So that's what we're reading next.
All right.
I'll make sure to send it to you, and I guess that's everything for this episode.
Yep.
You have anything you want to say before the outro?
I think we should shout out.
Yeah, no, don't worry. I'm going to do our usual. I'm going to do our usual. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's everything then.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you guys for watching. If you're on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. If you're watching us on Twitch, follow and subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube and want to check out our Twitch, it's twitch.tv/CJ Star Wars 94. If you're watching us on Twitch and you want to check out our YouTube, it's youtube.com/Escape Reality Films. If you really like our content on either of those channels and you want to show us some support, you can become a patron on patreon.com/Escape Reality Films. First tier gets you access to our Discord, and you can come hang out with us. We'll talk about whatever, Star Wars, anything nerd-related, really. If you're on the second tier, you get to watch our YouTube content a week before it's uploaded to YouTube. And I guess we'll give our little bits of shout-outs. Thank you to Mopcast Network for letting us borrow the studio. Be sure... Yeah. You can come watch me on their podcast as I produce for them on Cult Movie Cantina or on my Star Wars Life, or as currently Mando Mondays, because we're talking about Boba Fett. And you can watch that on YouTube at youtube.com/Mopcast Network. And if you're in the Mobile area, you can come hang out at Gamers and Geeks, which has given us this studio location. They've got an arcade in the back where you can pay $10 for the day, and you can just play whatever arcade games they've got in the back. They've got tabletop games. You got your card Magic the Gathering, your Dungeons and Dragons, whatever nerds memorabilia you want. It's here. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. See you next time.
Have a good one. Bye.
Yeah, stand up.
Oh.
Yeah, so they'll get to see the awkwardness.
Oh, yeah.
I'll make sure to edit it out.
No, keep it in. Gives a huge